to welcome you to the Corporate and Community Services Standing Committee held today, June 3rd, 2019. Before we call the Standing Committee to order, today we acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional territory of the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island. We are thankful to share in the special spirit of this place, rich in the energy of Mother Earth, our ancestors, and the love of all creation. All right, can we get the adoption of the agenda, that the content of the Corporate and Community Services Standing Committee of June 3rd, 2019 be adopted as presented? Moved by Councillor MacLeod, seconded by Councillor Furman. All those in favor? Excellent. Business arising from the previous meeting? Excellent. Seeing none, moving on. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Keep going. All right, well, welcome everybody. We're right into the deputations, whatever. I'm getting mixed up with the judicial inquiry. 5.1, Center for Business of Economic Development, read the Collingwood Accelerator Project. Ms. Gillian Fairley, the General Manager, is here to present. I'm very excited for this, as well as everyone else is, but that being said, the excitement lasts for about 10 minutes. And then I'm really, really excited about how Collingwood can become Bitetown, Ontario. But for the next 10 minutes, you have my full attention.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Madigan, Your Worship, members of council, staff, and the general public. My name is Gillian Fairley, and I am the General Manager of the Center for Business and Economic Development. We are a not-for-profit organization that services the business community by providing loans, business advice and coaching, and also by supporting community economic development. And that is the reason why I am here tonight. I'm here to present to you on an exciting economic development initiative, and that is locating an accelerator here in Collingwood. So I'm providing you with information about what an accelerator is, how it will benefit the business and the community, and how the municipality can support this exciting initiative. And I want to mention that this initiative has been done in partnership with those at the BDC, including Marketing and Business Development and the Small Business Enterprise Centre, as well as a number of other community partners. So we start off with, I'm going to go over what is a business accelerator. So Accelerator is a program that gives developing companies access to mentorship, office space, networking space, programs, advice, and support to help them grow. And it is a fast program, it helps them be scalable, and it's often product focused. And they have become really popular business models in the last few years. And the reason for that is firstly, they serve the business community. And studies have shown that businesses that go through an accelerator program actually do better. They survive longer, and most importantly, they attract additional investment. So they attract between 28 and 175% more additional investment than those that don't go through an accelerator program. They also demonstrate investment by the community in small businesses. And that investment, in turn, attracts additional small businesses. And we've certainly seen that with Collingwood being award-winning in its entrepreneurship community. They act as ecosystem builders, and they help attract additional resources and investment. And then from a municipal perspective, they lead to rapid business growth. They help diversify the tax base as businesses who go through those accelerated programs then graduate from those programs and look for office space and hire employees. And we know that there's a need in the community. Often we get asked why we don't have an incubator or accelerator in the community. But we also are getting approached by companies, particularly those looking to commercialize, and we don't have those resources internally or in Collingwood. So we send them outside our community, which is not something that we want to do long term. And not only that, certainly at the centre, we've seen an incredible demand for capital over the last 3 years, to the point where our loan funds, we are now borrowing to loan money. So that's how much demand we are experiencing in the community for capital. So we know that commercialization and access to capital are gaps. So there are lots of different models for support that are available to support small businesses, and we have great co-working spaces already in existence in our community that provide office space and networking and collaboration space. So as we move through the spectrum though, what does an incubator and accelerator do? Well, they offer more formalized programming. And particularly when we get to an accelerator model, which is the model that we're looking at, it's a faster paced program. That's one of the key differences. So companies go through 6 months, sometimes 3 months, program, which they come in, they're accepted in the program, and then they graduate from that program. And the other thing that accelerators do is they tie funding. So accelerator organizations actually invest in those businesses, and they do that through a number of vehicles. It could be convertible debenture, it could be a loan, or equity investments. So they fill those gaps around commercialization and through funding, which is what the accelerator model is, why it's so attractive. So this is an overview of a typical accelerator framework. So these are kinds of things we're already doing at the Business Development Center. We already provide programming and funding and partnership and advocacy and access to resources. What we're looking to do with an accelerator is strengthen and grow these so we can meet the gaps in our ecosystem. And there's a couple key areas that I want to highlight. One on academic institutions. We have a great partnership at Georgian College, especially through the Henry Burnick Entrepreneurship Center. But we also have another institution, Guelph, University of Guelph, is interested in partnering with us on an accelerator as well, and that gives their students access to research projects, but it also helps companies, especially if you're looking to commercialize and you need some research to back up the intellectual property, then we have a university at the table, which is a really interesting development. Through our community partners, we've also been introduced to the Water Alliance, which is a incubator that's been running for water tech companies, and it runs in the Netherlands, and they've been running for 15 years. We met with them just last week, and they were interested in partnership on some of the projects we could be working on through the accelerator, which for Collingwood is a very exciting initiative, and not only that, for the businesses here as well. So those are the kind of areas we could grow if we had a program like an accelerator. And then we'd strengthen, of course, our partners with industry as well, which is also important. So there are kind of two key areas of focus that we're looking at. As mentioned, water technology is an area, and health sciences technology. And the reason we're looking at these areas is that accelerators do better when they have an area of focus. You can't be everything to everybody. And we already have traction in these two areas. So with water technology, we have the partner project with Town of Collingwood that actually engaged a new technology that was developed out of the Business Development Center, and also looked at big data. And then, of course, our hospital has innovation days, and through their innovation arm have great products that could be commercialized. But once again, we don't have those resources here to help the hospital move forward with those. We're also looking at small teams, companies that are scalable, startups that have potential for intellectual property, and are ideally post-prototype. It doesn't mean that we focus specifically on those, that other companies couldn't access the services, because once, of course, you create programming, you attract more than just what you have in-house. But the focus would help us be targeted, help those industry collaborations, and help us move forward. Oops, I think I skipped one. Sorry. So there are other things that need to happen in order for the accelerator to be successful. And in terms of physical space, we know that accelerators work better when you can house the entrepreneurs in-house. So we actually need a physical space. Ideally, that physical space houses in-house experts as well, including those resources at the Business Development Center, but it would include experts and other mentors. Based on the research that we conducted, we're thinking about 8,000 square foot space would accommodate both the BDC and allow for companies to rent space on that and have networking space and meeting space. So that's kind of what we're thinking about in terms of space. The other thing that's important that I want to mention too is under the right structure. So in the US, accelerators operate as a for-profit model, but I think in Canada, the non-profit model is one that really speaks to how entrepreneurs get started and how these programs work. It allows for community engagement and the not-profit board, and it also allows for the establishment of community funds. And so there are great models on the East Coast that have community economic development funds that can help fund projects such as this, operating costs, and also those funds can direct money towards businesses themselves. And many of those funds are RRSP eligible, which is fantastic. So it could be models we can employ to help the funding gap that we need to address. So these are just examples of what a partnership could look like. Through the research, municipal partnerships are critical to the success of incubators and accelerators. And I'll just give one example. Community Tech, we actually have a great relationship with Community Tech, and they're more of an incubator than an accelerator, but certainly they are a hybrid approach. But they started with a $500,000 seed fund from the City of Waterloo and continue to receive operating funds. They started in '97, and just now, around the 10-year mark, we're starting to move towards a 50-50 funding model, where it's 50% private and 50% public. So in order for these programs to work, they still need public funds to operate. The Water Alliance in the Netherlands still operates in an 80-20 model, where 80% is public fund and 20% is private. So what would we need for an accelerator to happen in Collingwood? We think the logical next steps would be to hire a dedicated resource person to move the accelerator forward. Certainly, Centre for Business has invested financial resources and staff time to get this project off the ground, that including meeting with stakeholders and working with consultants. And it's a sizable project. And that resource person would help with partnership development, with working on the framework, with fundraising, with governance, all those sorts of things. And so there are kind of two key asks of council tonight. One is that we get assistance in helping hire this resource person. We anticipate a budget of $100,000 over the course of a year. Some of that would be in this fiscal and some would be in next fiscal. We're thinking around $30,000 to $40,000 in this fiscal and then the remainder in the next fiscal. And then the second ask is that we move the Business Development Center to be an anchor tenant in the new accelerator space. And that would allow us to continue to grow our resources and serve the business community in the best way that we can. And we want to maintain momentum. Certainly the project has gotten lots of interest. We want to keep moving forward and hopefully have a resource place in September, ideally. So we hope that the town and council consider support for an accelerator to further diversify and grow our business community and demonstrate investment in entrepreneurs in Collingwood. Thank you.
9 minutes, 56 seconds.
That's great because I had my stopwatch here and I forgot to press start.
That was fantastic.
Great.
Yeah. Everyone going next. 9 minutes, 56 seconds. Any questions or comments from the committee? Mayor Saunders.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to Julian. Certainly this is an exciting prospect, and I've been down to Communitech twice, I think through programs set up by you, and I've seen that model working. I'm aware of the relationship with the city, or with Guelph University, and that's an exciting opportunity, and the idea of the water model is also a very exciting one. And I was speaking last week at the Canadian Water Resources Association conference about our harbour and our specialty in water and the potential of a hub, and I'll be going tomorrow to the Great Lakes Cities Initiative, and I will be speaking on a panel there again about the pilot project that we have here with the Smart Sump and the Grain Grid. So this being such a wonderful opportunity, I'm wondering, I know we've had some assistance in the past through FCM grants. Are there other similar startup grants through government organizations that we could look at investing in or pursuing?
Yes, your chair, to your worship. Yes, there are. There are two potential grants. The one that we were looking at initially is a federal grant that supports incubators specifically. What we wanted to do is have a resource person in place to help write some of those grants and form the foundation, because they're large grant applications. And as we get closer to an election, of course, federal election coming up, that one is not guaranteed, but certainly there's interest. And I think what we want to look at is ways that we can highlight the uniqueness of what we're trying to develop. Because I think what we have here is very unique. We've got some demonstrated projects, we've got some traction, we potentially have an international partnership. Those kinds of things make us stand out. So yes, we would still be applying for that federal grant. And the other program too is there's a provincial program under the RED program from the Ontario Ministry of Food and Agriculture Rural Affairs. The RED program is open, and they've now opened it up to incubators as well. So there are two funding programs available, and of course there are still programs like Trillium that could support this moving forward, that some communities have successfully applied for Trillium funds for initiatives like this. So there are a number of avenues that we would like to pursue for additional funds. Most of those programs need to show some kind of commitment starting out, but then we'll be looking at that as well. And then of course, fundraising through a community fund, we think is a great opportunity for those that want to, place their funds in Collingwood. Community funds, even on their economic development funds, have been very successful because when you're making those investment decisions and you want to know where your money is going, those vehicles that allow, especially for those that are RRSP eligible, let individuals know where their money is going in the community, and we just look at the tax benefits. So there's a number of vehicles that we're looking at that could potentially be options for fundraising for this project.
And just one other comment, the timing is good because we are going through the ECDAT action plan update, and so we will be engaging local business people to assist us with that, and really the bottom line there is to give people reasons to invest in Collingwood. So it's good timing. So thanks very much for that, Jillian.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? See none, I have one. So, what would a potential partnership look like? I'm seeing a lot of cities here. Any other municipality of our size that would be involved in this? A positive answer would be no, because then we would be leading the way as we are in every other room.
Through Chair, I can't think of a community our size yet. We know the city of Owen Sound is looking at an incubator through a school that the county has purchased, but that's a county investment. I'm not aware at this time of a municipal investment in a project like this. So we certainly hope that Collingwood would consider it.
It's fantastic that the town of Collingwood would be able to lead the way and be number one once again. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Justin Jones. How Collingwood can become Bike Town Ontario, if not Canada, if not North America, from the Trails Advisory Committee.
All right, we can get my presentation pulled up. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Your Worship, members of council. It's fantastic to be here. Nice to see all the smiling faces. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about how Collingwood can lead the way again, and how I believe that our community can become one of the leading municipalities for active transportation in all of Ontario, and then certainly move towards becoming one of the leading municipalities in Canada and in North America. So this is an adaptation of a Pechakucha presentation I gave at the Clever office a little while ago, so I should be under 10 minutes if I don't screw my slide timing up too bad. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself. And there is a reason for this, I promise. It's not just because I'm a raging narcissist. So my story, like any good story about someone who loves cycling, starts in small town Alberta, a town called Carstairs, a town that you would be hard-pressed to find a place further from the great cycling cultures of the world. I mean, if you look, the word car is right there at the start of the name. And the stairs are not so much used in Carstairs, I promise you that. The car really does dominate there. And to give you a sense of just how important cars are in Carstairs, when I turned 16, I did the same thing that everyone else in my graduating class did, which was go get your driver's license and then go buy the most expensive car I could afford. For me, that was a 1984 Chrysler Fifth Avenue. It was a couch on wheels. It had the same birthday that I did. And that really became my everything in my community. And when I say my everything, I mean it. This is the local Esso, used to be an Esso, now it's a Shell, I guess, from Google Maps. And you can see in the distant background there, the very distant background, my high school. And I remember every day at lunch, me and my friends would pile into my 1984 Chrysler Fifth Avenue and drive to that convenience store. That's a distance that Google Maps informs me is a grand total of 306 meters. So that's the kind of lifestyle that I grew up in. And it wasn't until I moved to Ontario that I really started learning the value of active transportation. So I started off with a bike that was from 1982. I've since graduated to a bike that's from 1976. I have a penchant for buying vehicles older than I am, I think. And this is really the way that I choose to get around my community most of the time. Now, cycling really became a bit of an individual thing for me when I was living in downtown Toronto. It was the fastest way to get from A to B, and I didn't have to worry about the Toronto Transit Commission, which can be a bit of a nightmare if anyone's familiar with it. And so it really did kind of turn into a way that I connected with different parts of my community, but I did so in a very solo way. It was a monogamous relationship between me and my bike, and that all kind of changed when I moved to Hamilton. I got involved in a project called Yes We Canon, and I was involved in a community project to bring Ontario's first two-way protected cycle track to 3.5 kilometers of street that essentially cut off a large proportion of the downtown of the city of Hamilton. For those that have been to the city of Hamilton, a lot of the streets are 4 lanes, they're one-way, they're very high traffic, they're very high speed. They essentially act as shark-filled moats for people trying to get across if you're walking or cycling. And so Cannon Street was identified as a priority, and that's really where I discovered the communal nature of the bike and the way that bikes can bring people together. And that's what Yes We Canon was all about. So nowadays, this is how you'll often see me getting around town. If you've been out on the roads, you've probably seen me out there in my Dutch minivan. It's called a bakfiets. It literally translates to box bike. And this is how I choose to get around with my two girls here in the city of Collingwood. Now, if you would have told 18-year-old Justin Jones from Carstairs, Alberta, who drove his 1984 Chrysler Fifth Avenue, that he would be living in small-town Ontario, riding around in a Dutch-built cargo trike with his two children when he was 18 years old, he probably would have laughed in your face. But here I am. And you know, the reason I tell my story is because I'm not all that unique. There's a lot of people that are looking to Collingwood and they're moving here because of the incredible natural assets that we have. Because they want the city amenities, but the small town feel. They want access to the outdoors. They want physical activity. They want recreation. We had, on average, last week during Bike to School Week, over 500 students every single day choosing to ride their bike to school. And I can tell you that that doesn't happen in other communities. That proportion of kids riding to school is unique in Collingwood, in Ontario. And I tell you this from a bit of a place of expertise. For the last 6 years, I have been incredibly fortunate to turn my passion into my employment. I work for the Share the Road Cycling Coalition as the manager of the Bicycle Friendly Ontario program. I travel the province talking to municipalities about what they can do to become more bike friendly. That is my job. It's the coolest job in the province. I'm telling you, it's the best. I have ridden in over 100 different communities in this province. I have seen firsthand what communities are doing, and I have seen the impact of active transportation. I have talked with decision makers, I have shared experiences, and I have shared bike rides with many of your colleagues from council tables all around this province. And I want to tell you a little bit about what those experiences have taught me about Collingwood. Okay. Collingwood has one of the highest ratios of what we call all ages and abilities cycling infrastructure to road network in the entire province. We have this incredible trail system that has been built by some of the incredible folks that are here in this room. I have to acknowledge George Christie and Murray Knowles from the Trails Advisory Committee. I sit on the Trails Advisory Committee, and the first thing I said in that committee was that I stand on the shoulders of giants. We have done incredible work in this town to create a network of trails that completely encircles our community. There is very little reason to take your car anywhere in this community to get from point A to point B because there are so many high quality, high comfort pieces of infrastructure connecting our town. And so when we take a look at the infrastructure, it really does look like a wheel. The only problem I see is that when you're thinking about all ages and abilities infrastructure, places that you'd feel safe riding with your kids, you don't really have a whole lot of spokes. And so that's what I would kind of critique the town on. But I do want to talk a little bit about the culture. Like I said, people move here so that they can be exposed to the outdoors. And we talk about cycling, and I think a lot of time we think about the guys that we see on the left. And in my industry, we call those guys the mammals, middle-aged men in lycra. And while we love the mammals, and I've been known to get out on my road bike a time or two a year, you know, those aren't the people that we need to be building cycling infrastructure for. Those are the folks that are going to get out of our town to ride. These are the people on the right that we want to think about, because Monday morning cycling does more for your community than Sunday morning cycling ever will. More people riding to and from work, to and from daycare, to and from school. That's what makes your communities stronger. When we talk about the town of Collingwood, if you drop a 3-kilometer circle at 6th and Huron, Ontario, basically the entire populated area of our municipality fits within that circle. It is hard to find a trip that is longer than 6 kilometers in this town. 6 kilometers is about 20-25 minutes on your bike, and that's me riding my cargo bike with my 2 kids in the front. So, and our town, you know, despite the fact that we've got these crazy mountains just outside of us, we are pancake flat. The amount of elevation that you can gain within the town of Collingwood is about, you know, maybe 5-6 meters in total. It is a very, very flat town and is very rideable just by our geography. So I want to talk a little bit about what we can do to move forward with building a truly fantastic place to ride bikes. I want to talk a little bit about Boulder, Colorado. And the only thing that I want to talk about Boulder is Boulder is one of the very few platinum bike-friendly communities in North America. There's only 5. There's not a single one in Canada yet. And as a result of that platinum bike friendliness, Boulder has been leading Colorado in economic development, education of their workforce, and reported quality of life and satisfaction for years. And they've been doing it by creating the exact kind of community that we want to create here in Collingwood. So let's talk about some of the things that they've been doing that I think we can port here. First off, the focus on youth. In Boulder, they really do focus laser in on getting kids more active and engaging children in their community. We all used, I always ask people how many folks used to walk or bike to school, and the overwhelming experience is that most people used to walk or bike to school, and when you look at how kids are getting to school now, overwhelmingly they are being driven. And that change has been in one generation, and in Boulder and here in Collingwood, I would argue, we're really focusing on turning that around. Some of the other things they do in Boulder are these rat rides. They're not going around looking for vermin. RAT stands for Ride Around Town. So they have low speed rides all around the community, just getting from and to different community destinations, coffee shop rides, ice cream tours, rides along the beach, those kinds of rides that are more social, that are more focused on getting to know your neighbor and your community than getting out there and putting on the miles. They have a little bike share system in Boulder, which is really quite successful. So there's small scale bike shares that are available nowadays that are much different than the old Bixie style, the big walk-ups. And then they also have this thing called Upshift, and that's a community operated bike shop where they offer free bike workshops to train people how to maintain their own bike at different community events. So this is really important because for some people, a flat tire or a chain falling off their bike means that it goes back in the garage and doesn't come out because they don't have the skills to address that problem. But if we can train people up with those skills, bikes are beautiful. Bikes are very easy to maintain. They're not like cars today where you need a computer engineering degree to do any maintenance work. You just need a wrench and the ability to get greasy. So let's talk about some spokes. One of the things that am I over?
Yes.
Oh, dang.
So it's 11 minutes. You have a couple slides left.
Yes.
Let's just.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
My
you.
apologies. So I'll talk about some of the spokes really, really quickly. Neighborhood greenways, this is an emerging way of building new infrastructure that uses our residential streets as residential streets rather than as through streets. You would install things like the traffic circle that you see there, traffic diverters, which force people to turn off of residential streets. These are things that have been talked about in our active transportation framework since it was originally put forward in 2013, 2014. Neighborhood greenways are a key component of all ages and abilities infrastructure that can be done on the cheap. And these are the kinds of things that we can talk about for Maple. Ungap the map, we need to think about winter maintenance. How many people would drive cars like what I drive, a Toyota Matrix, if we didn't plow our roads? And so when we say, oh, people won't ride in the winter, of course they won't if you're not planning for it. If we are building and maintaining the type of infrastructure that allows people to ride, overwhelmingly the experience is that people will get out there and bike. And the number one thing that we need to be the best cycling community in Ontario is very simple, and it's human resources. We have the infrastructure largely in place in our community. What we need to see is someone who is tasked with moving forward the different programming elements, the different ways of encouraging people to change their habits that can start to get them out of those ruts that they're stuck in. And this doesn't have to be expensive. This could be a summer student who comes on for 4 months to run weekly rides, to be at the farmer's market to talk about cycling. These are the kinds of things that we've seen from smaller municipalities around Ontario, and the changes that they have made have been dramatic. People, at the end of the day, are creatures of habit. We have the infrastructure in place to make it easy to ride around this town. What we need are to give people the opportunity to create new habits. And this is my closing slide because these are a couple of my friends that came to visit and we were riding around on the trails. And this is why we do what we do at Share the Road, because I can count on no hands the number of friends that I have ever made from behind the windshield of my car. But some of the most consequential friendships of my life started because of my bike. So thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me a couple of minutes.
Thank you. Usually it's your mic that gets turned off, not mine. I don't know what happened there. Okay, 13 minutes and 23 seconds. Next presentation now gets 7 minutes and 37 seconds, no pressure. Any questions or comments from the committee? Councillor Comey.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Justin, I feel so fortunate that that's the second time I've seen that presentation. I absolutely love it. I think it should be a TED Talk. I think we're doubly lucky to hear today because it's World Bike Day, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And your bike count reminded me to give a special thanks to Jennifer Parker through Healthy Kids, who's been doing that great bike count regularly and kind of sending that on Twitter in conjunction with Kevin Bell. And then what I'm hearing, and I've had residents approach me about this, is of course we have our Engage out there right now asking residents how we should spend the sale proceeds, and a lot of people have been talking about the trails. So I think what we're hearing here is what of paramount importance they really are to the community. So I just want to thank you again. I think it's an excellent presentation.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes, thank you through Mr. Chair to Justin. Justin, my first set of wheels was a bike. And one of my first jobs was in a bike store, so that's cycling is something that's been one that's far longer than the car, so it's good to get back to it. There was a couple of things you said that resonated with me, and recently our council was given a book called The Walkable City, and checking off or going through the book. Now I'm halfway through the book, and a couple of things struck me about your presentation. The first was the overlay of our community and our compact urban form for a rural city. It really lends itself to cycling and the trails, but also I think our local downtown, if we work on our roads, we provide interesting corridors because they're not just straight lines. And that's one of the things I know, I think Murray and George spoke to me on the weekend when we were doing the bike tour, was that you don't have a straight line, you have a squiggly line. It makes it more entertaining and while at the same time enhancing the experience. So it just, and the statistics about the communities and the age groups and the demographic when you have cycling and active transportation friendly communities, and that's certainly what we're looking to become. So thank you for the presentation today. It's fitting in with other things I'm looking at, so I think it's an exciting time for us in this community. Thanks.
Any questions or comments? Councillor McLeod.
Thank you so much for that, Justin. Tell me something. At some point along the way in your presentation, you said that we're not interested in a Bixie bike type of thing up here. How come?
Through the chair, the primary challenge that I see with the Bixie bike style bike share systems is that the infrastructure to install the docking systems is very expensive, and to be quite honest, they're outdated. The new kind of more dockless, flexible bike share systems that exist out there will have the entire infrastructure for the bike share on the bike. So a good example is the social bicycle system in Hamilton, where the actual on the bike is a small keypad, and you can either swipe your RFID tag, your Presto card, or you can just key in your account number and your PIN, and that's how you unlock the bike. You don't need to worry about the big kiosks, and then they're actually lockable anywhere. So you can lock them to a standard bike lock, and what they do is they geofence areas, and so if you lock it out of hub, there's a small service charge of $1, but if you lock it in hub, then that trip is included within your service, so it's free. So it is, the systems have evolved at a pace that I would say is quite impressive, and so those kind of big docked systems are really not cost effective anymore, especially for a municipality of our size.
So have we been looking at one of those as part of the committee that you're part of?
I don't think that they have. I'm a really new member of the Trails Committee. I've been to a total of 2 meetings, so I'm just getting my feet wet. But I don't suspect that it's something that has been looked at just yet.
Thank you.
And nowadays, sorry, if I could just one more thing. Nowadays, it's less about municipalities going out and doing we would like to buy this, and more about them sending out expressions of interest and having the companies that run the bike share system come to them and pitch it.
I was thinking it was kind of ironic that the incubator / accelerator was right before you. Thank you, those are my questions.
Councillor Berman. Okay, well, Mr. Jones, we met a couple of years ago. And I think this community is full in touch with transportation, and you see it by every photo that Kevin Bell has sent me for the last 5.5 years at CCI and the other schools. Quick question, how much did your first car cost you?
You, Mr. Chair, was $850.
Never ask a question you don't know the answer to. How much did your new bike cost you?
That one was $400. Oh, the cargo bike?
The bike that I see you on constantly.
The cargo bike was about $6,000 total with the electric assist.
Oh, with the electric assist. Well, that's what puts it over the edge.
Hey, when you have a 120-pound bike and you're carrying 50 pounds worth of kids in it, the electric assist.
Last question. What is the best cycling city in Ontario?
Right now, I would say that the city of Ottawa is leading the way. But I mean, it is geographically disparate in terms of the experience of cycling in Ottawa. It is very different cycling in downtown Ottawa versus cycling in a place like Orleans in Ottawa. Our benefit is the fact that we are a small municipality. We are a small ship to turn.
So we're all in Ottawa this summer, so it's good to see the infrastructure that they have there. What is the best cycling town in Ontario?
I would be pretty hard pressed not to say Collingwood.
Thank you. Once again, never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. We appreciate your time, and I don't even care about the extra 3 minutes. It's nice to leave on a good note. So this is 2 positive presentations. No pressure to the Lexus. Let's go for 3. This is a wayfinding signage at a creative district. Mr. Rick and Uncle Lex for Creative Simcoe Street are here. Thank you very much. You guys have done so much for our community, and it's nice to see that after all these years of your success, you're still here to give us more. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair Madigan and Mayor Saunderson and councillors for granting us some time to present a vision of a creative district and to consider our request for directional signage. We're here to speak on behalf of what we call Creative Simcoe Street, a community of businesses and artists on part of Simcoe Street. And I know you've heard from quite a few people that are supporting this initiative. Next, please. So here's our map of Creative Simcoe Street. This map is the work of John Haynes, a well-known local artist. As a card, it's been distributed throughout the region, and we've also used it for magazine advertising and social media. And we've used the term Creative Simcoe Street probably for about the last 6 years. You'll see, of course, not just the buildings that we're involved in, but also a number of other culture-related properties, including the museum and the library, of course, which is an amazing arts facility on its own. And in a moment, Anka will be taking you through a close-up tour of this arts community. Next, please. So tonight we are requesting the committee consider 2 items. First is wayfinding and directional signage. It's a vital need to make sure that the arts businesses in this part of the downtown are sustainable. It would also have the advantage of helping people to discover the interesting attractions, some of them municipal, such as the museum, library, trails, and parks, but also letting visitors and residents of the community know that there's more than just Hurontario Street to visit. And this would enhance visitor experience. When people are encouraged to explore and spend more time in our beautiful downtown, they will ultimately spend more dollars there. Visitors love to walk the main street, but seldom venture off onto other areas of the downtown. What is really required is directional signs that inform visitors walking or driving through the downtown, helping them to find and explore our interesting side streets. Next, please. Our second request today is for this committee to support the branding initiative of Creative District. It's important to note that calling this area a creative district is purely a marketing exercise. It would have no planning or funding implications. We feel that highlighting an area in Collingwood as a creative district, and certainly, as you know, this is an area, hub of the arts and culture. Highlighting an area like this is a win-win for the entire community and all parts of the downtown. Next, please. So let us begin explaining why these 2 requests are important by quoting from the new arts and culture portion of the recently released at Council PRC Master Plan. One of the main recommendations is for the town, as part of the town's economic development, to develop approaches to attract, develop, sustain, and promote cultural businesses. And one of these approaches we believe should be directional signage. Next, please. So the master plan also identifies the main arts and cultural facilities in the community. Of the 10 downtown facilities, 7 are located within the Simcoe Street area. And we've highlighted them on this slide with the yellow bubbles. And so this is not our opinion, this is the opinion of the consultants for the master plan. So next, please. The master plan goes on to make a number of recommendations and best practice strategies. For example, integration of heritage and the arts, and as you know, the revitalization of the street began with the adaptive reuse of the Tremont as an arts building. It also recommends public space for the arts, for arts programming, and this exists in an area between the library and the Tremont known as Tremont Square. This public space is regularly used for various arts events and is also a potential home for a future piece of public art. Next, please. The master plan recommends encouraging interaction between for-profit and non-profit groups, something that we do in association with the Blue Mountain Foundation of the Arts, as well as creating public-private partnerships. And a prime example, of course, is the successful partnership with Parks, Rec, and Culture at the Simcoe Street Theatre. Next. So there's all kinds of other recommendations that we'd love to bring your attention to, but there's just too many for the time we have here. But just a couple more. Establishing affordable studio space for artists. And in fact, Simcoe Street is home to 18 working artists. Establish an arts and business incubator, and we just heard about incubators. And we've had a number of successful startups that have come out of 65 Simcoe Street. And the master plan recognizes the importance of economic impact of arts and culture to the community. Next, please. Our most interesting recommendation in the master plan is for a cultural precinct or hub. Establish and promote a cultural zone in the community having a critical mass of cultural facilities in one area. And that critical mass already exists on Simcoe Street. So next, please. I'm going to turn it over to Anka, and she will give you a quick tour of some of the area's creative businesses and people.
Let's start with Art Crush, and it's the newest business on 65 Simcoe. This is Heather and Alex, and they're two very talented young full-time artists, and they are clearly very excited to have their very own storefront. Next, please. And then we have the Simcoe Street Theatre, a 100-seat black box theatre. And the theatre hosts many fantastic events for all types of concerts, professional theatre, community theatre, lectures, film, as well as private events. It's a charming, affordable little space. And to the left, you can see Tyler Cleary, who's doing an excellent job running this little theatre. Next, please. Here you see the Fleetwood Dance instructors. Fleetwood Dance celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary, and they've been at 65 for the last 7 years. 65 Simcoe also houses the Blue Mountain Foundation for the Arts, an arts foundation that has been instrumental in establishing Collingwood as a destination for the arts, and they have been doing that since 1975. They curate 2 galleries, they have a gift store, and they hold a number of art events and have art classes in the building. Upstairs in the mezzanine in the press room is home to 2 artists, Chelling, a photographer, and Allison, a painter. Outside 65 Simcoe is also the Community Learning Garden, which has been a partnership with the library for the last number of years. And they just planted the garden last week. Creamer Coffee Studio is located in the building, and we are also very excited to announce that Lowdown, a restaurant and bar, will be opening their doors at 65 later on this summer. Next, please. The Duplex next to 65 Simcoe, is home to Alexander Art Supply and Art School, and as well as 7 creative independent businesses on the 2nd floor. Next, the revitalization of Simcoe Street started with the Tremont. At the time, it was considered a daunting task by many, but today it's home to a group of 10 artists on the 2nd floor, and the quality and diversity of art can rival with any gallery in Canada. The building has 2 galleries, the Tremont Studio Gallery for the resident artists, as well as the Tremont Hall Gallery, and we invite outside artists to show and sell their work free of charge there. The first floor of the Tremont, of course, is the Tremont Cafe, and as well as Paper White Flower Studio. And the 3rd floor of the Tremont is residential, including some live workspace. Next, please. We have had many fantastic events on Simcoe Street, like Day of Delight, the artisan and vintage markets, street feasts, and we are thrilled that Park and Rec brings Frozen on Time to the street, a wonderful winter event. Martin Ridlow was instrumental in bringing Din Blanc to the street, an elegant and international event, which was without a doubt the best street party in Collingwood so far. And coming up later this month, the Collingwood Arts and Music Fest will be for the first time on Simcoe Street. We really love having events on Simcoe Street.
Next, please. And one more. So we want to finish now with the vision of a larger district that could grow out of creative Simcoe Street. This area shown in yellow is a number of blocks of underdeveloped but rapidly commercializing properties. The creative district branding and support with wayfinding signage and could both guide and incentivize creative class businesses to develop in this area. The underused laneways could be included. Initial signage at Simcoe and Hurontario could eventually lead to several gateways to the district. In the next few months, additional businesses will fit into this description and will be opening at the corner of Simcoe and St. Marie, which is at the former Days body shop, and they've certainly voiced their support for our initiative, as well as a new business at Simcoe and Ontario Street. Various other businesses have already located their creative businesses in this area. This is a unique opportunity for the town to further encourage the revitalization of this area, as well as sending the message that this is a wonderful, creative community. Next, please. And I thank you for your attention and welcome some questions.
Thank you very much. 10 minutes and 51 seconds. Jillian is still the rock star this evening. Kudos for bringing great news, Jillian, and still winning the trifecta. Any questions or comments from the committee? Mayor Saunderson.
Yes, through you, I have one question for Rick and Auckland. We've discussed this a number of times, and I just wanted to pick up on your last point. I think you indicated that you saw this as the branding exercise as bringing a spotlight or raising the awareness of Collingwood's arts and culture community. And so I know we've had a number of discussions, and I've met with other members of the community, some with businesses along here Ontario Street. And my question really to you is, do you see this as being an inclusive exercise to raise the awareness, or an exclusive one to draw the focus to Simcoe Street?
Well, we certainly believe that if Collingwood can promote the fact that they have a creative district, that will draw a lot more attention to this as being an arts community. People are not going to come to Collingwood and only visit Simcoe Street. They're certainly going to visit our beautiful Main Street. That's never been an issue. Everybody goes onto the Main Street. There's other ways that we can promote all of the arts throughout Collingwood.
And actually, one of the Tremont artists is actually taking it on to create an arts map just for the Collingwood, greater Collingwood.
For all Collingwood
For all
arts,
Collingwood.
arts and culture. But our position here is that we need to focus on this area, and
So that we can be found.
so that we can be found, so the artists can be found, and I think that's very important to make it sustainable.
Thank you, that was my question.
That's a great question. As a business owner on the Main Street of Collingwood, I've too heard those questions, so that was Thanks for taking that and summing it up a lot more eloquently than I could. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Have you spoken with the BIA who is sitting right behind you, and I can focus on
We've had a
them?
number of discussions with the BIA.
Okay, excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to reports and minutes of other committees and boards. 6.1, Access Awareness Week presentation. I would like to welcome Ms. Chair, Margaret Adolph, up to give us a presentation this evening. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, Bob Madigan.
I figured after you won the Companion to the Order of Collingwood that you would have slowed down, retired, enjoyed, but thank you so much for continuing all your community
Well,
service.
thank
We
you.
appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I came to Collingwood to live and to play and to work, and I'm still working.
Yeah, why don't you try and play? You're working a lot. Thank
I'll
you.
try. I'll take your advice. Thank you again, Chair Bob Madigan, Your Worship, and councillors. I'm here to talk about National Access Awareness Week. Actually, it was last week. And each year, during National Access Awareness Week, Canadians are encouraged to think about the barriers people with disabilities face and to find ways to help remove them. This year, we marked 14th anniversary of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act of 2005, the AODA Act, as we often call it. During this time, public, private, and non-profit organizations across Ontario have been working together to improve the everyday lives of people with disabilities. So during May the 26th to June the 1st, during this week every year, accessibility and inclusion is promoted across communities and workplaces, and a time to celebrate the contributions of Canadians with disabilities. It is also an opportunity to recognize the efforts of Canadians who are actively removing barriers and ensuring persons with disabilities have an equal chance to participate in all aspects of the Canadian society. And I want to tell you that Collingwood has done an amazing job. Since the AODA Act came out, actually it started in 2010, it was struck in 2005. The things that Collingwood has done, the streets, the buses, the buildings and everything else, it's just amazing how people now have been able to get around and do things that have disabilities. The history, as you know, was the National Access Awareness Week was established in 1987 following Rick Hansen's 40,000 kilometer Man in Motion World Tour. Can you just imagine going 40,000 kilometers? Anyway, Accessibility Awareness Fair on May the 31st, thanks to the library, we hosted the second annual Accessibility Awareness Fair upstairs in the rooms up on the third floor. And we had an awful lot of people come with their, hearing and sight and different things that people need. And the vendors that were in attendance provided information on their products and services, and which was a benefit to all individuals and their varying abilities. A lot of people just don't know what's available, and we're doing an excellent job to make sure that people have the access. Ontario was the first jurisdiction in Canada to legislate the framework and timeline for making Ontario accessible. And the goal of the accessibility for Ontarians with disabilities is to make everything accessible by 2025. So National Access Awareness Week helps to promote the AOD and goals of making Ontario accessible to all. We have a great, an accessible advisory committee, good committee. Besides myself, there's Rosalind Steele, Jack Sims, Jocelyn Richards, Cheryl Ann Monahan, Sarah Almas, our clerk. She's our staff resource. and Jessica Haley's with us tonight here as recording secretary. We do all kinds of things, and one of the things that we do is we put up a booth at the farmers market. And we're going to do the same thing this year. On September the 7th, the Accessibility Advisory Committee will be at the farmers market. And each year the committee has a tent at the market, and we meet and greet people and determine what they feel we can do to meet what their needs are. We usually ask for, give suggestions, tell us what we're doing right. We want to know what we're doing right besides what we could do and what we have accomplished. So put that on your calendar, September the 7th, and we will be at the market, okay? Okay, accessibility barrier identification. Barrier identification forms provide a mechanism to receive public input to address inaccessible barriers and identify within the Town of Collingwood programs. So at the event on last Friday, we did that, and we had a prize, and we encouraged people to tell us what they need, what we could do better, and what, as I said, what we have done. And so these forms are submitted to the clerk, who distributes them to the department heads and the specific department of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. And a plan is formed to address the barrier. The complaint is notified of the solution and the time frame and further contact when the barrier will be removed or reduced. We've had a few of barriers. I want to talk about one was the Centennial Aquatic Center, and a few of the councillors sitting around the table here were at it. April the 4th, the Town of Collingwood announced the grand opening, and you probably see the picture on here, of the Centennial Aquatic Center. I see a few people, as I think there's 3 of us around the table. And this new addition features a lift and other assistant opportunities that help swimmers who are in wheelchairs or need changing assistance to access opportunities at Aquatic Center. This accessible change room project began through an accessible barrier concern submitted through the town's Accessible Advisory Committee. We got a lot of complaints. They can't use the pool. They can't get into it. They need somebody to come and help them dress. And it might be a male and a female. So there was, the males couldn't go into the female dress rooms, and the males, so this allows this to happen. So the town went out for a grant, but they were unsuccessful. And however, we modified the plan and went to private donors, and the accessible change room became a reality. Marie Andrews generously donated a lifting device in the memory of Ashley Fillion. And the Accessibility Advisory Committee, we had some money in the bank, so we funded the project. So let's make the way we think, talk, and act about accessibility and inclusion. We're doing a great job. Let's continue to do it. Thank you. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? As you say, there's a few people around here who have helped out too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before you leave, say if any questions or comments from the committee. See none? Oh, hesitate to the last second. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you for your presentation. Tell me how the lift has been received at the Aquatic Center. Councillor Comey and Mayor Saunderson and I were there for the opening, but do you know how busy it is?
Unfortunately, I don't. I wish I had that question before. We haven't had any feedback as yet, but that's a good question. I will make sure that I'll get back to you and ask them how it is being used. But I'm sure that there was a few people, as you know, you were at the presentation too, and there was a few people that were gonna use it on a regular basis.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, through you, Mr. Chair, just wondering whether it has, its presence having been advertised and publicized has maybe drawn a few people who are reluctant to attend the pool, into the pool.
And that's a good point too, maybe there should be more advertising on, you know, that it is available. Maybe there's people out in the community that don't know about it, and we could do that, and I'll talk to Sarah and maybe we can follow through with your suggestion, but I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
okay.
6.2, the Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes of April 4th, 2019. It's moved that the Corporate and Community Services Standing Committee receive the Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes of April 4th, 2019, including the recommendation contained therein to the next regular meeting of Council. Accessibility Advisory Committee 04 April 2019 minutes. Moved and seconder, moved by Mayor Saunderson, seconded by Councillor Berman. Any questions or comments? Excellent. Seeing none, all those in favor? Moved. 6.3. Collingwood Downtown BI Board of Management Budget Presentation. Ms. Penny Skelton, Chairman, Sue Nicholson, Manager.
Can I ask you to do the quickie thing? Because I'll race far ahead on the quickie thing. And then I'll be really confused.
We don't want you to be confused. How long do you have, Penny?
I'm gonna aim for 7 minutes,
Ooh,
because I brought lots of pictures.
yay.
So it makes it quite simple. Our Board of Management, as council is well aware, we had an election, it's concurrent with council election, so that here's our new board. I was again elected the chair. We have a new vice chair in Paul Feather, who is from Fish and Sips. And we have a new council member in Councillor Comey. We have 3 new Craig Ashton is new, Carolina DeAndrea is also new, Megan Borofsky, we just kind of slide her in for Andrew, her husband was on last term, and Paul are our 4 new members. Moving along, it's very simple, you know this inside out the same way we do. Funding is taxation by location. So since 1977, when the BIA was formed, a board strikes a budget, that budget becomes an additional tax on the business and property owners, and that funds our annual budget, which makes us a very successful private partnership, public sector partnership. Our BIA levy is 100% funded by our members, so we do say tax, but it's not part of the regular tax, it's a surtax that we put on. We have over 600 members, and everybody within the boundary gets the opportunity to pay that additional tax. Moving along, our 2019 events. We just decided to do it as a collage rather than to say. Basically, we do everything a lot of the things that happen downtown that are special events, the BIA is involved with, or the BIA is involved with in partnership with another town department. Everything from Mother's Day handing out carnations to Easter with a rabbit hopping around helping the kids over at the museum pick up their eggs, to one acquisition we made last year, which we are going to utilize more this year. You'll notice there's a great big monster piano. For 1 year we rented it. The second year we looked at renting it again, and I said, wait a minute, that costs a lot to rent it because it comes up from the States. How many years could we amortize it if we bought it? The answer was 3 years. I said, let's buy it. We now own a monster piano. We're looking at utilizing it further in the community for events. So should council wish to play O Canada at one of your meetings, I'm sure we could get somebody in who could, we'll get it set up for you. That's a volunteer opportunity for us. You know we do the farmers market. We are the managers of the farmers market. We also, and I'm going to put our general manager, Sue Nicholson, who's with me at the moment, to run around to all members. You don't have to click. Well, I'll talk about the farmers market for a second. At the end of last year, they didn't get here in time. We had farmers market bags made up, and we put our BIA logo on the other side. And in order to encourage all staff people to become involved, we're offering you a free bag. Currently, we're giving them out at the market for a donation which goes to the food bank. But it's interesting, our farmers market has grown, we're now in our 16th year. We have over 80 vendors, some are seasonal, some are full-time. The seasonal obviously come with the corn, come with the peaches. We're excited that we can have the licensed stuff at the market now. So we have cideries and we have wineries and we have a full market experience. We employ a summer student to work from May through till she goes back to school usually, which is our market manager again this year is Brooke Girdwood. I've got one left over here. You need it for someone. The farmers market also at the end of the year features our art chair auction, and this year we have over 55 art chairs that are out on the street. We've gone from 30 to 55 because we opened it up and said, why don't we make this year's theme Artist's Choice? We have a variety of different things from Gord Downey to a map of Canada to, I don't know, rocks at the bottom of the bay. It's quite amazing. So they're all hitting the streets now, and I encourage everybody to get out and watch. The partnerships that we do the farmers market in partnership with the town because you supply the parking lot for us. You provide our ground. We set up in your facility. It's hard to think of a parking lot as a facility, but it truly is. So right through to Frozen in Time, which happens at the end of the year, all sorts of different activities. Our BIA has pretty major fingers in all of those pies. To give you an idea, our budget is $450,000 and our total expenditures are $567,400. So we too are a small business within our downtown. We're a $500,000 business. The differences come from grants that we receive, different activities, some of the subsidies we get for students as we go forward. And I think it's better shown, and I would let Sue answer any questions if you have, if we put up how we actually break down the budget. It goes by various committees. So you see everything from future planning to events and activities, to administration, to maintenance, to communication, to decorating. And I think maybe we can put that slide up again at the end, or if anyone has any questions about that, we're happy to entertain them now.
At the end.
At the end, okie dokie. So I'd like to just give you a highlight of the 2019 initiatives. Wayfinding, which is one thing that the Alexis did comment on. The wayfinding project has now gone into the completion of phase 2 where the signs are actually going up. The main purpose of the wayfinding study that was initiated by the BIA Long-Term Planning Committee in conjunction with Martin Ridlow's office was to find a way to attract people to the downtown core, park their cars in our off-street parking, put appropriate signage there to say, look at all the wonderful things, walk and find them. That is the main purpose as well as getting people around our community. The MOU is a memorandum of understanding that's been up there a couple of times, a couple of years running. It's yet to be completed, but it is an agreement between the town and the BIA. It's part of a larger town document in which what we're responsible for, what you're responsible for, and who pays for what. It's a pretty simple thing. It's still going forward, it's still in the process, and we don't want to lose sight of it. This year we are endeavoring to further do membership engagements, and we're looking at doing once a month Survey Monkeys. We did our first one before our AGM, and I'll leave a copy of this with the chair, and we can forward it to you in an electronic form if you'd like to see what the results were. Also, the Collingwood Downtown Harbour Tourism Destination Plan is currently underway in collaboration with the town and funding from RTO 7. So we're looking at, again, how do we further develop our downtown core? And one of our newest board members is an extremely enthusiastic person, and that is in Carolina DeAndrea from One Love. And she really wants to revitalize early evening shopping. So she's recommending that we try, and we're going to try, a summer pilot program starting at 5 o'clock. She's willing to go to restaurants and say, will you offer a special cocktail or a special appetizer? Approach businesses and say, will you stay open till 7:30? Just to stretch out so people stop in on their way home after work in the downtown core and help keep us totally revitalized. Our major issue and goal, which is a fun one, for 2019 is garbage. I've been here before about garbage and I'm back about garbage. Collingwood has one major tourist attraction and it is our downtown. Unfortunately, our garbage collection day is Mondays, and we have a lot of offices and businesses that, since the contract does commercial garbage pickup, Our garbage day is Monday, they close on Fridays. Some Thursday nights put out their garbage. With the weather that we have and the wind tunnel that here Ontario, St. Marie and Pine Street can become, that garbage, particularly in winter, can be spread everywhere. We understand that the garbage contract is under negotiation currently at the county level, and we would like to advocate for our council to go forward and say, we'd love our garbage to be picked up on Friday. Clean up the downtown for the weekend. And that's the big thing, and we would like to really ask council that we need their support, we need their advocacy at the council table, at the county, to say, this is something, I'm kind of picking on Clearview because they're Fridays, but I'm not really picking on them. I'm just saying that we need a different garbage day. It could be any day except Monday. And then we need the enforcement of our bylaw. We actually had a motion that came forth at our AGM to look at enforcing the bylaw. It should not go out before 7 p.m. the night before garbage is picked up. So that means Sunday night, 7 p.m., no garbage should be on the street until then. We need that enforced as well. So just a quick look at some of the things we're doing for long-range planning. Look at that beautiful arch. We're doing a lot of things.
You didn't notice it when you came in?
You didn't know that. At the moment, it's invisible. I'm going to highlight Dave Conning, who is one of our people. We're very keen on putting gateway signage for the historic downtown area at First in Here, Ontario, and Hume and Here, Ontario. This is going to be a big ticket project for us. It may take us a couple of years to get there. We know we need to do engineering studies. We know we need to cost it out. And yes, we're probably going to have to dip into our reserves to do it. But it's something that all of our, literally, if we took a survey of our people, if we can change the garbage and put up the signs, they're going to be happy for the next 75 years. Beyond that, what we're looking at is a renewal of some of our street infrastructure. We want to do an actual sort of asset management plan of the condition of the benches. We might want to put some downtown Collingwood branded benches down so people know where they are and have some nice seating areas, as well as many more garbage cans. So I think other than that, I would go back and say if there are any questions as far as the budget, or if there are any other questions. How close am I?
You're well over your
Well
7
over my 7 minutes, sorry, I apologize.
It's all
I
right.
just had so much good news.
Yeah, so much good news. 10 minutes, 22 seconds,
Sorry.
just felt like 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
I didn't win the prize.
Any questions or comments from the
Yeah, I just
committee?
brought up the budget again, if there's questions about specific numbers.
Mayor Saunderson.
Yeah, just through you, Penny, I acknowledged by email that I received your letter the other day, so the deputy mayor and I will certainly take down your request. The new renegotiations would affect the 2020 contract, and so as you know, there are 16 municipalities, so there is a working target there, but we will certainly advocate for that, and we'll let you know.
We don't get what we don't ask for.
Yes, well, when you get that sign, you'll at least have 37 and a half years of happiness.
That's right.
That's right.
Councillor Berman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to probably Sue. I remember 4 years ago helping you out with the scrutineering for the BIA election, and I thought I recalled that there was low 400s with members to the BIMI at the time, so I'm noting the big
No, it's
increase.
600 including property owners and business owners.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, when
Yes,
you
sir.
talk about, sorry.
Go ahead.
When you talk about monthly surveys, what would you hope, or what would you hope would be the typical percentage of owners that would respond to that?
We've had, I mean, I liken it to our e-newsletter that we send out. We have upwards of 50 to 55% open rate on that, which is very good for an e-newsletter. We had this last survey we sent out, we had 40 people respond. And it was pretty specific to retail events, that sort of thing, as opposed to looking at the broader based issues.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor McLeod.
I want to ask a little bit about that very interesting looking sign in your presentation.
That's not a final prototype.
Do you have you said you're thinking for the next 75 years. Talk to me a little bit more about the plan.
Okay. What we need to do is work through all of the town departments, because it would need to be secured in the gardens on either side of Huron Ontario Street, and the same at Hume. So it has to go through engineering and works, height, material, we're presuming it will be sunk well in the ground, made of metal, will last for numerous years. But what we're looking to do is to develop the heritage, both the shipbuilding and the railway. Those are the two keys of industries that form the downtown, other than all the hotels that kept burning down. But we can't do fires. So we figure we'll go with industry, which is kind of part of what our downtown core is and our flavor is. And we still have our replica train station, so.
I would imagine you'd have to speak with the MTO as well, considering it's a pretty serious
Yeah.
roadway.
We have a lot of boxes to tick. We need to work, we also have to work with Heritage, the Heritage Committee of the town, of which I'm the representative on behalf of the BIA. We did take the concept to them last month and they're really enthusiastic about it. But again, final designs are to come. I would think, I'm hoping by the end of our term, we're just in the first year of our term now, hopefully by the end we'll have at least one of the signs in the ground. We have a goal. We're
Thank you.
focused.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a couple of questions that came up through the course of your presentation. How much did that piano cost?
Canadian or American?
I can do the math.
14,000 American. We had last year, it was part of some Celebrate funding that we got last year for our art and music series that we run through the season. So some of it was offset by that grant money. So.
Do you
And
have
it
possession
did.
of it?
We have possession of it. Actually, it's a way of getting a case made that's going to be easier for it to be transported. And it actually was used at the high school during their music festival, which was a month or two ago. So Roger Robinson, who does a lot of our work with us, actually took it up to the high school for us, and they had a great time with it.
And final question through you, Mr. Chair. Are you planning to rent it out, or did you just loan it to the high school because you're nice?
Well, we loaned it to the high school, but we're in discussions to actually have a rental program with it. It'll need a partner that can transport it, because I have a 2010 Fusion and it won't fit. It's heavy, unwieldy, but it's a great asset to have, and we're hoping to bring it out as much as possible this year.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Colby.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Great presentation, thank you so much. You know, a lot of residents have got so much positive feedback about the food donation collection at the farmer's market. I think the bag's gonna be a hot commodity this summer. Is that gonna continue through the duration?
Yes, we plan on, it'll be part of the same center that we do our food demonstrations with, and our Meet the Farmer center, but we plan on including it as much as possible. We got some food donations last week, but we got close to $100 in cash donations last week as well. So
That's fantastic, wonderful, thank you so much.
Councillor Berman. All right, buddy. All right, well, thank you very much. Just for open and transparency, I have, my business has been a member of the BIA since 1991, so my quick math makes that 28 years. And I just personally want to thank you guys for all the fantastic events that you do. I don't think a lot of people in the town of Collingwood know that the benches downtown are purchased by the BIA, and the day they go down, they become the property of the town of Collingwood. The garbage cans in the downtown are purchased by the BIA, and when they hit the ground, they become the property of the town of Collingwood. And all the festivals that you guys do, that we, with in partnership with our town staff, we usually get the credit for, so thank you very much. But that being said, I really take 2 seconds to highlight one of the most successful ones, and that's the farmers market. So with the massive success of the farmers markets, are there any drawbacks to that success? Because it is a true 100-mile market, and we have to follow the rules and regulations of that. Can you make people aware of Collingwood? There's always been a lot of questions, why aren't these people in the market, or why can't this, you know...
we have to say no. We generally don't say no to a producer, because that's the core of a farmer's market. We certainly allow for nonprofits and community organizations to be there. The town of Collingwood, thank you very much for the use of the parking lot. We give you a booth every week, so the town departments are highlighted as well. We turn away, people think that they can bring manufactured products there, and they can't.
Now, the manufactured products that you will see there are BIA members, because some of our BIA members use the market to promote their individual businesses. One of the most successful ones that is Collingwood Olive Oil, who are on a side street, a little out of the way. They hand out cards at the market. They sell, of course, there too, but they hand out cards at the market that say 10% off, you're here and we're here. You can sample 3 varieties here, but there are 53 varieties at our store. So it's a way of building their customer base as well. But no, in order to maintain the quality of the farmers market, we need to have at least 51% have to be producers or primary producers, basically farmers.
Excellent. That gives us the funding and the accessibility to become one of the most successful farmers markets in Ontario.
It certainly is.
Thank you very much. And just for Alex, a little shout out for him. Their little card says you are 527 steps away from our business. So talk about wayfinding and a little map that they can put on that to send them their direction is just ingenious.
In a tiny way, when you talk about incubator businesses, we have a new business this year at the market. It's a lady who's selling reusable bags for your produce and things. She was inspired by our market. She saw the need, and she's now taken a booth for the season and is selling, and I think is doing quite well.
Excellent.
So everything we do is related to the food that you eat, that you can take home that's fresh.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. .4 Collingwood Downtown BI Board of Management minutes, May 9th, 2019. Thank you. After the Collingwood Downtown BI Board of Management budget presentation, it's moved that the Corporate and Community Services Standing Committee receive and refer the Collingwood Downtown BIA Board of Management budget and refer it to the next regular meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Comey, seconded by Councillor Berman. All those in favor? Excellent. Next, can I do 6.4? Excellent, thank you. Collingwood Downtown BI Board of Management minutes for May 9th, 2019, and the Collingwood Downtown BI Board of Management Annual General Meeting minutes, April 11th, 2019. It's moved that the Corporate Community Services Standing Committee receive the Collingwood Downtown BI Board of Management minutes of May 9th, 2019, and the BIA AGM minutes of April 11th, 2019, including the recommendations contained therein to the next regular meeting of council. Board recommendation is that given the County of Simcoe is reopening the garbage collection contract, the Collingwood Downtown BIA Board of Management formally requests that the town of Collingwood put forth a request to the county that the date of garbage collection would be changed to Fridays. Questions or comments? Excellent. Can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Colby, seconded by Councillor Berman. All those in favor? All right. Thank you. Staff report 7.1. Mr. Ridlow. CAO 2019-02, renewing the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU with the Business Development Center, BDC Partners. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Chair Madigan, Your Worship, members of council. I'm going to ask the partners from the Business Development Center to come up because we're going to be co-presenting in 10 minutes or less.
Perfect.
You got the timer going. This presentation overlays the staff report, which is included in the agenda. And the presentation really focuses on celebrating some of the successes of the past, present, and future. I'd like to remind you who the partners at the Business Development Center are. It is Jillian Fairley from the Centre for Business and Economic Development, Tim Newton from the Small Business Enterprise Center, and Sue Nicholson from the BIA. You've probably all seen them present before. I'd also like to introduce you to Karen Clay, who's in the audience. She is our leader of operations, Karen. And we also have Quincy McKenna here, our summer marketing intern, listening in and finding out more about what democracy is all about. If you want to just go to the second slide. What does the BDC focus on? At the end of the day, we're here to help businesses start and grow. And we do that in 3 principal ways. 1, we provide advice, we provide connections, and we provide financial support. Let me give you a little bit of perspective in terms of what kind of traffic we get at the Small Business Enterprise Center. Not showing up? We'll continue going on. should be in the shared folder in Tom's for today. And in terms of some of the key success factors that we've had from a traffic standpoint, the handout that you have in front of you provides some more details on. Let me just highlight 3 specific successes. One, we do about 1,800 consultations per year. That is actually sitting down with people, talking with them for half an hour, meeting with them multiple times. We help with information that comes in through phone calls, emails, chats, in person, with almost 5,000 requests for information. And probably most importantly, and this really highlights the success of the Business Development Center, is the fact that 57% of our meetings or consults are with multiple partners at the Business Development Center. So that whole original concept of saying we want to have a place where all businesses can come and meet together is working.
Martin. I won't reiterate the services since you heard that earlier today, but I did want to highlight a couple points about our organization. We've been lending for 32 years. We actually started in Collingwood because of the closure of the shipyards to help people start small businesses in the area. And over those 32 years, we have loaned $21 million, and those businesses, through those loans, have secured an additional investment of $55 million. So the leverage funds are important and indicative of how these businesses grow with a little bit of financial support. We're also regional. We think that's important. We have a local and regional perspective at the BDC, and that helps the business community overall in terms of their network and the support we can provide. We've also booked 428 loans and created, or helped to create, we don't create the jobs, entrepreneurs do, help to create over 3,000 jobs. There are 3 main success stories that we want to highlight. And the first one is actually Miss Vicky's Chips. And that actually started with a loan through our center, a loan of $50,000. And of course, it's really a flagship success story for the whole program, which is the Community Futures program across Canada. With that $50,000 loan, of course, she grew her business and then sold it eventually to Frito-Lay. The second success story is Earthy Kids with her chickpea pasta. We've helped Shelby with her business. She's also engaged multiple partners through the Business Development Center and of course through our broader ecosystem. So it just goes to show that it's our support services and our network that can help a business grow. And then finally, Blue Mountain Collision is located in Collingwood. They have a new facility just off of 26 there, and we help them with the loan and with partnership actually with another organization to invest in some equipment. So they actually have extremely high-tech equipment that they purchased from Europe, brought over, and run an amazing facility. If you get the opportunity to tour Blue Mountain Collision, I really encourage you to go there. So these are the kind of organizations that we support, and we certainly do that with community partners like those at the BDC and beyond, and we certainly hope to continue to support businesses through our programming.
Just skip on one if you would. Go forward. There you go. Right there. Perfect timing. Thank you. The South Georgia-based Small Business Enterprise Centre has been in this region for just over a decade now. Since 2007 until 2014, when it landed in the Business Development Centre, it moved 6 times in 6 years. Since then, it's been certainly settled in, and due to the result of it being in the business development, its KPIs have key performance indicators have grown in every measurable sector. Essentially, what we do at the Business Development Centre branch, the South Georgia-based Small Business Enterprise Centre, is to help people realise their dreams of self-employment, whether it's starting, growing, or reframing that business into an entrepreneurial piece of magic. We are running this summer, as we have the last few summers, the Summer Company Program. We were allocated 6 spaces, 4 of them have been taken up. I will be speaking to Sue later on about making sure that one of those is seen at the farmers market on a week-to-week basis, but that's just an example of some of the collaboration that works. We are also really excited about a new program that we've just brought to the municipality of Collingwood, among 7 others, and that's the Digital Main Street program. It will, over the next 12 months, help to provide support to in excess of 200 businesses across the South Georgian Bay region with training and financial support. The idea behind Digital Main Street is to help raise the digital bar. It helps businesses to use the terms bricks and clicks more so than bricks and mortar. Canadian businesses, we know, need to be more competitive on the online marketplace, and this program has been designed to support in that effort. There's no way that we, through the Small Business Enterprise Centre, could have helped to bring this program to fruition had it not been for the partnerships and collaboration that exist in the Business Development Centre itself. And if you can go to the next slide, please, Alan, thanks. We have, since the beginning of 2018 through to the end of 2018, helped 109 new businesses start across the South Georgian Bay region, and that represents 158 jobs. A typical example of a business that would come through our programs is represented by a company you see there with Third Shot Sports as an example. Mark came into the Business Development Centre and said, hey, I've got some skills, I can teach pickleball. People keep asking me to give them coaching sessions. So we helped Mark over the next 18 months to where he is today to hire 4 employees and take his business across North America. He now has thousands of followers and subscribers to his newsletter, weekly YouTube video clips and clinics. This is just one of many examples I could give you, but in the interest of time I won't, of the support that Business Development Centre and within it the South Georgian Bay Small Business Enterprise Centre helps entrepreneurs to realise their dreams of self-employment and entrepreneurship.
Okay, you've already heard a lot about the BIA already, but one thing I did want to highlight is that it is collectively the largest employer between full and part-time staff. More than 2,000 people work in our downtown core. The commercial assessment is 120 million plus, 29 million plus that we assess our levy on, as well as the town of Collingwood gets that commercial tax revenue as well. Our vacancy rate is one of the lowest in the province. A lot of our other BIAs and downtowns are running a program called Win This Space, because they are working with groups like the Business Development Centre that we work with to try and fill vacancies. So they run contests to for startup businesses to actually rent a space in downtown. We haven't done that because we have no place to put them, which is wonderful. We talked briefly about the farmers market, and it's right, it's one of the true successes of the downtown. It draws people to our community and to the downtown core every Saturday morning, and then they explore what's available throughout our core area. One of the success stories that you may not be aware of is Dags and Willow. They were a vendor at the first farmers market. They were a young couple testing out whether a cheese shop would fly in this community. They started at the market for one season. They rented a small space over on Pine Street to build their business, and now they're right across from the farmers market in a building that they own and refurbished, and they're one of our great downtown anchors. And as Tim mentioned, the summer company, we work with Tim and his summer company people to let them have space at the market to showcase their product and work with us. And many of them are still at the market as regular full-time vendors because they built that success. Very excited about the collaboration with the Digital Main Street program that's being led by SBEC. I'm involved in the Ontario BIA board and was right at the start of the discussions with OMAFRA on launching the Digital Main Street program throughout the province. It was had been running for a couple of years in Toronto very successfully, and the provincial government saw the success that was happening there was building small businesses and their capacities, and wanted to roll it out to the province. It was rolled out, and the TPA was signed with the Liberal government, and the Conservatives in their wisdom saw when they came in that it was a program that they wanted to continue, so we are working with it. And in most municipalities, a single BIA is running this digital service squad that Tim was talking about, but we saw the capacity could be so much more for our regional business community if we worked through SBEC and launched a digital service squad that went across the region. So we're very happy to be part of that success story.
So final slide, our recipe for success, collaboration. What's our unique value proposition? We ultimately help businesses start and grow right here in Collingwood, the South Georgian Bay, with the ultimate promise of you get to live more now. Speaking of Live More Now, you've heard about the campaign that we're piloting right now. You can go take a look at it at techhubnorth.ca. A few of you have been asking, well, how's it doing? So I'm happy to share the last 3-month results. We've had over 3,000 user visits to Live More Now. We've had over 2,000 job views on the job portal itself. 35% of those job portal views have resulted in actual clicks on the job listings that are there. And as of today, we know of 2 filled jobs as a result of it coming through the job portal. If you go there right now, actually you'll find 22 jobs posted there. So is it working? So far, so good. We're going to keep on driving ahead. The next step for us is, of course, taking a look at this accelerator. What Jillian presented is certainly an exciting opportunity for us, and it actually goes hand in hand with the staff report, which is asking for council to give us authority not only to extend the BDC agreement for 1 more year, so we actually have the time to figure out how we could fit into an accelerator, how do we activate an accelerator, but second of all, it gives staff the authority to go out there and actually explore these options. Because we believe this is a unique opportunity in our timeline when a number of things are coming together, and we want to jump on that opportunity. Thank you very much for your time.
12 minutes.
Oh,
26 seconds.
I am a softie. I said at the start you all got 10. Thank you so much, Jillian. I really was enthralled with your part of that presentation because you followed the rules. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the committee about this fantastic news story and pushing forward with positivity? Councillor McLeod.
A couple through you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Nelly, you said that you had loaned out $21 million over the last, I'm sorry, I've forgotten how many years.
32 years.
$21 million, 32 years. How many of those loans have defaulted?
Through Chair to Councillor McLeod, I don't have that number with me at the moment. We do record stats on loan losses. On average, Community Futures run around 6% loan loss. We're a higher risk lender, so that's the average loan loss. We're not there right now, but we have been certainly in years and higher. But for the entire 30 years, I just have that number in front of me. But usually what we look for is around a 6% loan loss on our portfolio.
We're not there this year. Are we above it or below it?
We have no loan losses this year.
Through you, Mr. Chair, you also said there, in the course of those 32 years, 3,000 jobs have been created through your office?
Yes, the Chair to Council McLeod, yes, over 3,000 jobs have been created. It's an important number that the federal, since we are a program of the federal government, that we track jobs created and maintained. So that's our job impact. And of course, it's the entrepreneurs that create the jobs. We support that job creation. It's a very important number federally.
Right, so you said 3,000 jobs created and you're to keep track of how many jobs are maintained. Do you have a number on that?
Not in front of me, that's more the job creation side. The maintained usually is higher because the entrepreneur that comes to us with a loan, they're already creating their own, they're maintaining their own job at that point. What we track is additional incremental employment on top of that. So usually the maintained number is higher.
Right.
I can tell you the stat, we know we track around 1.6% over top of jobs created.
Right, so through you, Mr. Chair, I'm thinking of the example that you provided, which was Ms. Vicky's chips. And does anybody work there currently after she sold? Or
Well,
did all those jobs go to Mississauga? Or wherever it is that the Frito-Lay place is?
So in the through the transition of that business, those jobs would have been absorbed by the larger corporation as part of the purchase of that. Typically, what happens with those employment isn't always disclosed, right, as part of the sale or transaction of that business. But as a larger purchase, particularly by a company that size, the jobs will get absorbed by that company at that other location.
Okay. Just two more, if that's all right with you, Mr. Chair. I do not know to whom I want to address this, so you can draw straws. I'm curious to know, because there's a lot of conversation or a lot of information provided to us regarding programs like the Summer Company and all of the stuff that you guys do to help out people who have decided to become an entrepreneur, to create their own business. I'm wondering what sorts of things one does to inspire people who might never consider becoming an entrepreneur. I personally, I'm an employee. I've always known that. But I wonder whether there is something that you all are doing to light that fire in our youth?
Me again. Yeah, absolutely. I work in the schools. I help the teaching staff in the schools to teach entrepreneurship. I go into the entrepreneurship classes, which there are some really good teachers at CCI, as well as careers, as well as civics. And we run workshops for them. We try to plant seeds. We help them understand that in their careers, there's a reasonably good chance that 50% of them will either be self-employed, entrepreneurial, or involved in a very small company, therefore making decisions for the benefit of that company. So it's a very active component of our portfolio within the Small Business Enterprise Centre.
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Chair, so those are kids who are already in an entrepreneurship class, so they're already thinking of it. I'm thinking about how to light that fire. I already used that phrase, but how does one convince somebody who's beginning their life that this is the path that they may want to choose?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I teach entrepreneurship in the entrepreneurship and business streams, but also every careers class and civics class. So every student has to go through those. They're mandated. So I pretty much hit every student in the high schools, at least with a 1 hour conversation, which is very interactive and fun.
Wonderful, thank you. And last one, through you, Mr. Chair, and this is to Martin, Mr. Gridlow. You said with the Live More Now portal that has been opened up, you've had 2,000 clicks on it in 3 months, and that has led to 2 jobs found in 3 months. You'll forgive me if I think that doesn't seem like a whole lot of return on investment, does it? Or am I being unrealistic?
Through you, Chair. I think if you were to take a look at what these employers are experiencing in terms of the difficulty of finding employees and the dollars they spend on Indeed, LinkedIn, and so on, the success rate, considering we only have 15 companies listed on there, to actually have 2 of those jobs come through, for them, they're ecstatic. They're going, finally, we found someone that's helping us find qualified employees here. What's important is not to only look at the jobs created or found through this campaign. I think it's the interest that we're creating overall within the South Georgia Bay Area around trying to set up a company here, realizing that there might be a tech hub here. The number of companies, individuals we've had that have approached us that have had very successful careers in Silicon Valley, in Kitchener-Waterloo in the last 3 months, has to be something different than just, they're deciding to come up here. We've certainly seen it at Collingwood 5x5. Brandon Houston, who's in the audience from the creative space, has seen it. He's been an intimate partner in the Tech Hub North campaign. So would I like that number to be higher? Absolutely. Considering we're 3 months into it and we're just picking up our momentum, I would say that for those companies, if you ask them, they're going, this is the right path to be on. How do we crank it up? And we're certainly learning what's working, what's not. The Collision Conference that was down in Toronto just a few weeks ago, Brandon Houston had the pleasure of being down there. He came back with a whole bunch of information around municipalities that are really putting a footprint into Ontario and the world around their specific municipalities and how interested they are in attracting tech companies. And just for perspective, the Collision Conference is probably the largest tech conference in the world. So those are the places where we're going, how do we continue growing the success that we've had? Well, it's continuing to refine the website, but it's continuing to get the message out there, getting more coverage and so on.
Thank you. I didn't realize there was only 15 companies connected to that hub. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. I just want to bring a highlight to the summer company very, very quickly. I was involved with it a long, long time ago, where it was a mentoring program, and I was very pleased to help a young man from Thornbury, Meaford, named Colin Fox, and he started this skateboard company called Shred Skateboards. And he was a skateboarder. He was a pretty cool dude. But through the learning and the teaching that he was taught, he went on and actually has nothing to do with skateboards now. Thank goodness. He's an old guy like me, but he received a Governor General Award of Canada for his business. So I think it screams volumes to the amount of content that can come out of that. And that's just one success story that I actually got to mentor him, and now I send him questions constantly of what can I do now to get better, Colin. So thank you so much for what you guys do. Mayor Saunderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, probably to Martin, but I know that you guys have been in partnership now for about 5 years. So going back to the original staff report of February 2014 for the business case to create the Business Development Center, you guys are full of statistics, and I'm wondering if you can tell me that now you're under one roof, have your numbers gone up by being under the one roof, and if so, by how much?
Through you, Chair. They have gone up. We're not tracking traffic numbers for the first year. Since 2016, they have gone up approximately 30%. And the level of engagement that we've seen has just gone skyrocketing. I can get back to you on the specific numbers. I believe there's some in the staff report too. So I'm just going off of what I believe is out there, but we've certainly seen tremendous growth coming out of it, and particularly the engagement levels that we've seen with the different companies. Jillian actually drafted up that staff report in 2014, so I'm not sure if you have any more to add.
The only thing I would add is that for our perspective, we were located on Hume Street before. It's made a huge difference to us being able to support business through funding, being located with the Business Development Center and the partnership there. For 3 straight years, we've had very, very solid numbers. In fact, similar to Tim, we've, blown past our KPI numbers to the point where we get questioned on what's happening. So, so the co-location and that location has been excellent for us, and in turn, excellent for the businesses. Thank you.
If I, just one follow-up question to you, Mr. Chair. Is there one kind of serendipitous spin-off of this that has caught you off guard? Something that reading the original reports, you now look back and say, well, this is great, we didn't anticipate that.
Through you, Chair, I think Tim just nailed it. We need more space. Our boardroom cannot accommodate some of the gatherings that we want to have. Brandon Houston generously lets us use his space at his office, which is great, but at the end of the day, we need to have that flexibility to be able to entertain more of those events. We don't have any space where if there's an entrepreneur or a business person coming in wanting to set up in Collingwood, where they can just sit for an hour or two, meet with us, work a little bit, and then continue finding more long-term space in the various co-working spaces or some of the offices that we've got here. So we're finding we're limited on the space factor, and that's a part that we wouldn't have expected 4 years ago, 5 years ago when it first got set up, that we would outgrow it at this point. So some of the opportunities that are presenting themselves, Jillian's deputation in particular, are ones that come at a fortuitous time.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Comey.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I thought it was a great presentation. Always good news stories, always positive information coming out. Martin, would you be so kind as to just maybe send the committee those statistics on the Live More Now? And we fully respect that it's just getting started, but a lot of statistics coming at us, so that would be really handy. And then just while I have you here, I'm curious, is there another 5x5 planned or in the works?
Through you, Chair, that is actually up to Brandon Houston because he was sort of the lead partner on that event. We certainly supported it. I know certainly in re-looking it afterwards, we were excited by it. It was a lot of work. It was probably a little bit more work than we had expected. So I don't want to put him on the spot, but certainly those are the kinds of partnerships that we work on here, that we work with the different co-working spaces, the various resources here, and work to help support those different events they put on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question, and I would usually direct it towards the CAO, but he is not here, so I'm going to direct it towards the mayor, who is here. And I'm going to do it with a smile. You're going to smile back, and so I'm going to be friendly and happy. December 17th of last year, in one of our first meetings, council directed staff to bring forward the next steps of our master accommodation plan, which would effectively tell us where our staff was going to go. Is there anything substantial on that, or Mr. Mayor, please and thank you.
It's in the works, and it's with the CAO, so unless there's any staff behind me that has an update, I don't. I think part of the flexibility, and perhaps Martin can correct me, that we're looking at the 1-year renewal to allow us the flexibility to proceed and finish the accommodation study and then look at alternatives moving forward, and in particular the accelerator hub on Hume Street being one opportunity. So that's, you'll have to wait for the nuts and bolts answer when the CEO is back.
Good, well, that was the answer that I actually wanted. So it's just to make sure that the public knows we're not just gonna sign this on 1 year at a time, 1 year at a one time. We actually, there is a plan behind this, and this will give us the time to fulfill that plan. Okay, before you leave, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak with this? Probably went backwards in that, as I do, but all right, the staff recommendation is that staff report CAO 2019-02 be received, and the council direct the CAO to sign the updated MOU together with other BDC partners, renewing it for 1 year with an option to extend it beyond this period at the town's discretion. And further, that council authorize staff to explore opportunities to review the terms of the relationship with the partners and develop further service delivery options, including identification of a new BDC co-location site with the partners, and town staff could move to the downtown Collingwood by the end of 2020, I apologize. Main mover and seconder. Moved by Mayor Saunderson, seconded by Councillor McLeod. All those in favor? It's passed unanimously. PRC 2019-08 Collingwood Elvis Management Transition. Usually I would look over and what I've been calling counselor, I will look to Ms. Karen Cupid. And if you can give us a brief overview of this, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Chair. This report is a follow-up from an initial report submitted on April 8th. There was a motion that had been deferred which referenced what happens with the management of the Elvis Festival following this year's last municipally organized event. We were asked to bring back some information regarding the value of the brand, consider a competitive process, and look at ensuring that the organizer that we would transition to had the capabilities to organize the event in a way that makes us comfortable with the legacy that we're leaving with that brand. So we have put 2 recommendations on the table. We did so because the initial recommendation was that we would transition the management to the Elvis Festival beginning in 2020 through the municipal special event permitting process. But understanding that there may be a desire to implement a competitive bid process does not currently fall within the procedures of the special event permitting process, so it would require a different approach. So if that is the direction that council wishes to take, then we recommend that staff select a private operator to manage the Elvis Festival beginning in 2020 through a competitive RFP process.
Well, thank you very much for a brief overview. Before we go to questions to the audience, Karen, could you give us a quick overview of the special event permit process, i.e. costs, regulation, just so the committee understands if we go with one or the other, what that'll entail, please and thank you.
Absolutely. The current process requires applicants to submit an application form where they outline their proposed event, give us some background as to their organizational capacities, presenting and hosting special events. There is a special event permit fee. There is a scale. It is based on whether you're a for-profit or not-for-profit and the projected attendance. In this case, we would expect the application fee would be $750, assuming it is a for-profit operator that takes over the management. The application is forwarded to a collection of signing authorities. They are department heads in Public Works, the Clerk's Office, PRC,
as well as our police and fire department representatives and the BIA if the proposed event is to take place in the downtown core. Those signing authorities, based on the proposal in front of them, will determine conditions of approval, and these typically include proof of insurance, traffic management plan, emergency and security plans. In the case of the Elvis Festival, I expect we would want proof of licensing through Elvis Presley Enterprises to use the name and likeness of Elvis. And if all of those conditions can be met, then the signing authorities would sign off on the application and the permit would be granted.
Okay, so we would create the stipulations that they would have to follow.
Correct.
It wouldn't be on a first come, first serve, it would be on a first come, first serve, we would accept that, but then they would have to meet with every department and make sure that they fulfill absolutely every one of those. So that being said, we could go through the process and have no one capable of fulfilling.
That is a possibility. If the first application that we received, the first expression of interest, can't meet all those conditions, we would go to the second.
Excellent.
We currently have 3 expressions of interest on the table. If none receive approval based on the conditions we've set forward, then we will not proceed with the permit.
Okay. So before I go to the public to ask any questions, I'm just going to read both recommendations. Recommendation is that council directs staff to select a private operator to manage the Collingwood Elvis Festival beginning in 2020 through a competitive request for proposal RFP process, or that council directs staff to transition the management of the Collingwood Elvis Festival beginning in 2020 through the municipal special events permitting process. So throughout this whole process, there's been some unfortunate misinformation. I would like to assure the town, I would like to assure all the Elvis fans that the festival is happening in 2019. Absolutely 100% show up, have fun in 2019. Okay, any questions from the audience? Anyone out there would like to speak to this? Once, twice? Wonderful. So, I read the motion. Can I get a mover and seconder on that motion? The recommendation is that council directs staff, or can I have someone put one forward?
Question?
Sure. Councillor Comey?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Karen. I'm looking at in the staff report, effect on town finances. And in option A, we put it out to RFP, and there's the licensing fee to Elvis Presley Enterprises, presumably. And then we calculate in, I guess, in this cost benefit analysis, we could also anticipate normal rental fees for town facilities as indicated within the user fees bylaw. In option B, would that also not be a possibility that they get their special event permit and then also have the opportunity to engage on town facilities and pay rental fees?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that is correct. Those would apply to both options.
So just for understanding, if we as the town go to an RFP, we have to manage it. We have to stay involved. If we do not want to stay involved, like the vote that was unanimous, then we have to think about that in a different way. So I'm looking for, it's very tough for this committee to do this because we don't have a recommendation coming from the department, which is good and or bad. We do need their guidance because they are the experts, and I'm willing to move something if no one else is because I've received their guidance today. Okay, so I'm looking for anyone that would like to move one of the motions. Councillor Broom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the second one because I think to follow up on what you were saying, the previous vote in April asked us to, or decided to discontinue it as a municipally managed event, and the wording that's in option 1 are things like a level of involvement and not a complete divestiture, so I think that contradicts what our original vote was. so I would move the second one.
Okay, so Councillor Berman is moving the council direct staff to transition the management of the Collingwood Elvis Festival beginning in 2020 through the municipal special event permitting process. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Mayor Saunderson. All right, now let's chat. Mayor Saunderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Karen. So I just want to be sure I understand the differences between option A and option B. Option A is an RFP process where we would still be managing that process and would still have some skin in the game effectively, and we'd be expending staff resources and potentially have some financial risk, but have the ability to pick any of the, if we have four proponents, we would have all four on the table and have the opportunity at that time to pick the successful bidder. Is that the idea of option A?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
And option B, conversely, we are removed and it's a first come, first assessed. And if the first applicant meets the requirements that we've set out, then they would be awarded the permit. And if not, then we would work our way down the numbers. So we're assessing one at a time as opposed to all together. But at the end of the day, we have no skin in the game, no staff resources. The winning bidder runs the entire show.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. I would just preface that with saying there is a certain degree of oversight that we provide to any municipal special event permit holder in so much as we need to verify that they continue to meet all the conditions that were set forward throughout the duration of their event, but very minimal resources.
Okay, and that's just, those resources are just consistent with our special event permit process generally.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. Those are my questions.
Excellent. Any other questions? Councillor McLeod.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Cubitt. We have a certain amount of institutional knowledge after 25 years of running this event, and I wonder, is there some mechanism within either our bylaws or our policies and procedures wherein if we were to vote for option B and remove ourselves nearly completely from this festival, where that institutional knowledge could be passed along? I hesitate to use the word secondment, but something of that nature, where the 25 years worth of work and files and memories and stuff that's packed into some employee's head might be of use to the people who would be the successful proponent. Is there some mechanism whereby that could take place?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not aware of a policy or procedure that supports that. What I do know is that as a department, it seems very clear to us that there's a desire from this council to see the Elvis Festival stay in Collingwood and be successful, and we're looking for the best way to make that happen. So our commitment would be to download as much corporate knowledge as we have to the successful proponent, regardless of the mechanism they come to be in that place, as best we possibly can. I don't see that being an ongoing role, but there's certainly a lot of information that we would be happy to download in the most efficient way we could.
Thank you very much. That's my question.
And we would give the same support to a beer festival, a cider festival, a butter tart festival, because that is our commitment as the PRC, is to help these festivals be successful.
Correct. Facilitation is part of the special event permitting process. We do offer that support.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Good. All right. Well, seeing no more, I would like to call for the vote that we go with option B, the council direct staff to transition the management of the Collingwood Elvis Festival beginning in 2020 through the municipal special event permitting process. All those in favor? That is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Departmental updates. 8.1, Communications Quarterly Report. Mr. Ferguson? Is this your first one, sir?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
So good evening, committee and audience. My name is Adam Ferguson. I am the Communications Officer. Tonight I'm giving you an update on communications and engagement, specifically for the first quarter, so January 2019 to March 2019. And that represents my first quarter with the organization. We're committed to sharing information with residents, visitors, and business owners through quality communications and engagement opportunities. We share corporate and lifestyle information that enhances the experience of all who enjoy Collingwood. Our engagement encourages members of the public to become connected to their municipal government through a variety of opportunities. Just a brief overview of communications and engagement. We strive to be inclusive, respectful, adaptive, accountable, and responsible, and we hope these are our guiding principles moving forward. Our goals are to inform the public, share reliable information, engage with the public, and build enhanced customer service and user experiences. A good example of that maybe moving forward would be to enhance the communications around the budget process, start the process earlier, collect feedback and ideas through our new Engage Collingwood platform, and then offer tools to the public that would allow them to better understand the municipal budget and its process. So first off, we've just nicely launched a new website. That was in May 2019, so the second quarter. It's mobile friendly, accessible, has a great news feed, events calendar, all the town services are on there, council information. I encourage everyone to go to collingwood.ca to check it out. But our first quarter numbers are based off of our old website, essentially. We had almost 35,000 visits per month. We had almost 82,000 page views per month, and myself and staff made about 241 updates to that website per month. The most viewed pages included the homepage, the downtown webcam, the human resources page, so jobs, skating and rec programming, and the aquatic center were very popular. I suspect you'll see in the quarters to come that we'll see a reduction in page views because the new website is so streamlined. It's easier for people to search information and get to the information they want to get to, so they'll spend less time clicking around and therefore less time ratcheting up our page views. We've also nicely just launched Engage Collingwood at engage.collingwood.ca. We launched that in the second quarter as well, but most of it was built in the first quarter, and Krista Carter in Clerk Services played a big role in helping launch this site. I'll give you some stats, and this is just over the past month because we launched it at the start of May. So far as of today, we've had 1,700 visits to the site. We've had over 100 registrations. We've had over 500 survey responses. About 500 of those are coming into our asset sale proceeds survey. The other 30 or 40 are going towards our urban forest management plan survey, which we just promoted Thursday or Friday. And we're collecting engagement on those two items. We've given an update on the Sunset Point Park Playground, and there's also a contact council feature on there as well. So social media, we essentially have three wings of social media with the town. We have the Town of Collingwood corporate channels, we have the Experience Collingwood channels, and we have the Collingwood Public Library channels. Under the Town of Collingwood corporate channels, we've got Town Twitter, Town Facebook, and I'll get into those in a second. We have our museum Facebook page, which in the first quarter had about 1,200 likes and was reaching about 347 per day. We also had our Healthy Kids Twitter channel ran by Jennifer Parker. That has a Twitter audience of about 250 people. Our Experience Collingwood channels is run by Martin Ridlow's team. It focuses on economic development, tourism, events, lifestyle, marketing. It's getting almost 1,700, it has almost 1,700 likes. it's getting 11,000, 16, sorry, let me start this over. It's got almost 17,000 likes on Facebook. We've got about 11,000, we're reaching about 11,000 per day, that's organic and paid. And they're very active on Instagram as well, where they have about 7,000, they're reaching about 7,000 per month, and they have about 35,000 impressions per month. And then our Collingwood Public Library channels, we have 1,200 followers on Twitter, and they're very active on Facebook as well. And that the Collingwood Public Library channels are run by their PR coordinator, Amy Szymanski. So our town corporate channels, on Twitter, in the first quarter, we got up to 3,700 followers, and we push out about 64 tweets per month, which is about 3 per working day. On Facebook, we have 1,700 likes, we have a 4,000 reach per day, and we push out about 67 posts per month. Our YouTube, we have 2 YouTube channels. We have our town channel, which gets 2,600 views per month, and we have our streamed meeting channels, which is live streaming right now, and we get about 686 views per month. YouTube, given how much focus in the first quarter we put on to the new website, and it being my first quarter with the organization, YouTube is something we haven't really pushed on very hard. We're not producing a whole lot of videos, but the 2018 highlights video would be on there, and we have an Awen Gathering Circle documentary on there as well. Social media engagement. Our primary focus is to disseminate information to the public, share information with the public. When it comes to private messaging or DMs, we try to respond ASAP, and we share the comments and or concerns that come in that way to appropriate departments. When it comes to public comments and ads, we review them when time allows. Obvious concerns are shared with appropriate departments, but given limited time resources, we at this time can't give a lot of time to daily comment, evaluation, conversation, and response. And with that, I would say that Facebook commenting is not necessarily the ideal way to inform the town of an issue or concern. We definitely encourage people to have a conversation there, but I encourage people to contact the town. We have customer service ambassadors. Contact us at townhall@collingwood.ca. Give us a call at 705-445-1030, or visit our brand new website where you'll find key contacts, contact us form, and staff directory where you can find individuals or departments and contact us directly. Also in communications, we put out a monthly e-newsletter. We just put out the June edition yesterday. In the first quarter, we were averaging about 13 items per edition, which is, in my opinion, the equivalent of like a 5 to 7 page newspaper. We, at the end of the first quarter, had 440 subscribers, and if you go to collingwood.ca, you can subscribe. I also take care of media relations. In the first quarter, we put out 10 news releases per month, which is basically one every other working day, and we took in 18 media requests per month, and we also do daily media monitoring. We also take care of the town pages, which can be found in the Collingwood Connection. We average about 51 items per month shared through those town pages, and we have an obligation to share specific items in local print newspaper, and those items typically are planning and development related. Communications also takes care of planning and strategy, staff and council support in the form of interview scheduling and speaking notes, briefing notes, that kind of stuff. We take care of print material design, so Councillor Comey just showcased our recent Hamilton Drain Crossing brochure that went out, and we're going to do some more communications on that over the weeks to come. Video and photography is something that in the first quarter I haven't been able to devote much time to, but through the summer I hope to showcase the town a lot more with video and photography and event support, including the Mayor's Levy and other events. And we also are starting to ramp up internal communications a lot more. So if anyone has any comments or concerns about communication specifically, they can email me at communications@collingwood.ca. And I encourage everyone to follow us by checking our website at collingwood.ca, going to engage.collingwood.ca. There's some great surveys there and a great way to provide feedback and get involved in the community. You can follow us on Twitter at Town Collingwood. Go to facebook.com/towncollingwood to check us out on Facebook, and you can visit us on YouTube at youtube.com/townofcollingwood. Also give you a quick update on community engagement from the first quarter. Our engagement spectrum includes inform, provide information to allow the public to understand the process and goals of a project, event, or initiative, consult, obtain feedback from the public on their comments, concerns, suggestions, and commendations, collaborate, work together to arrive a mutually agreeable decision, and empower, place responsibility of making a decision in the hands of the public. So in the first quarter, we informed the public of winter activities, including clearing events, the warming centers. We had a kind of a blizzard event in mid to late February that we did a lot of communications on. There was winter parking concerns. We informed the public on major events like the Mayor's Levy and the Order of Collingwood Awards, Whiskey-licious, February Family Day, Big Crunch Healthy Living Day, International Women's Day event, library events, Heritage Week, and we started Elvis Festival promotions. In our business economic development department, we promoted Excite Pitch Competition, Grow Your Business Spring Series, Tech 5x5, networking event, Youth Career Expo, Youth Center in Action, and monthly business news updates. And in our arts and culture section, we promoted the art exhibit that we saw here earlier in the year, Envisioning a Future event, featured artists, poet laureate poems, museum collectors exhibits, and the live and original concert series. We also informed the public on the junior hockey announcements, pool hours, pool closures, because we had a break-in the first quarter. We had an alternative swim registration process that we promoted, outdoor rink closures, and the activity guide. We had a number of tenders that went out, and that was all shared with the public on our town pages, website, and Bedingo is a great place to find our RFPs and tenders. And our enforcement team promoted the coyote awareness sessions that we held in the second quarter. We also showcased 2018 highlights with a video. We pushed postings out. We shared reorganization and customer service plans. Airport and utility sales were finalized in quarter one, and the public can now go to engage.collingwood.ca to give feedback on what should happen with those asset sale proceeds. And of course, we share all the council meetings, agendas, minutes, and we live stream. On the consultation side of things, in the first quarter, we had budget public hearings, and we encouraged feedback on that. In planning, we had a cannabis retail sales public meeting, and our planning applications come before council and are featured in public hearings, and we hear from the public on those. In economic development, they did the Employer One labor survey, and in Parks and Rec, we did a Sunset Point Park playground survey and urban forest management plan open house. Actually, I think that was in quarter two, sorry. Our museum did a museum strategic plan survey. In engineering, we had a open house on March 22nd for the master servicing plan for water and sanitary sewer systems. And that featured public comments. And in water, we also had public information sessions about the wireless water meter transmitter project. We collaborated in Parks and Rec with February Family Jam with a number of different stakeholders, and also with the Collingwood Art Crawl. And in water, we had irrigation information sessions, which included irrigation companies, condo corporations, to express to them which days watering is allowed on and how timing of watering affects the flows at the water treatment facility. And empower typically is something like an election or a referendum where we're allowing the public to make a decision. And I included International Women's Day here in the anti-bullying campaign because we've collaborated to bring these events and campaigns to the public, and the public is empowered through those events so that included that in Empower. And again, reach out to us you can reach out to me at communications@collingwood.ca, or you can follow us on a number of our channels that I mentioned previously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lots of information, and it's what you do, information. Any questions or comments from the public in regards to that presentation? Seeing none, any questions or comments from the committee? Councillor McLeod.
Gotta know. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Ferguson. You mentioned during your presentation that the town has an obligation to provide in the print newspaper in town a page with certain information in it. Do you foresee a time when that will no longer be an obligation with the changes in technology that we have experienced in the last couple of decades?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I can't speculate what the future may hold on that.
A follow-up to that, when you say obligation, are we required by the Municipal Act of some sort to do that?
I believe so, yeah.
Mayor Saunderson.
Well, I think Deputy Clerk is more than qualified to answer that question, so I'll pass it to Becky.
Through the chair to Councillor McLeod, there's lots of legislative requirements still in
Yes.
the legislation that require us to do a newspaper notice. So I don't see that coming away anytime soon, unfortunately.
Thank you so much. One more, through you, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if that is all right. You were talking a little bit, Mr. Ferguson, about internal communications within and amongst town employees. Now that you've got our beautiful website done, is there some thought of bringing into the town some sort of internal communication protocol like Slack or Jostle, which seem to be quite popular these days?
Sorry, I should have been going through the chair this whole time. But
I feel very unpopular because I have no idea what either of those are. I'm not hip to your jive, sister, but I'm hoping that Mr. Ferguson can do me a solid and tell me what those mean.
through the chair, I'm not familiar with those either. We are having internal discussions about tools that we can use internally. Our IT team is working hard on an internal web platform that our staff can interact on and information be shared internally.
Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Comey.
Thank you, through the chair. Well, first, wow. What a tremendous first quarter. You really hit the ground running, and I remember you made the levy very memorable with the video that you put together, which was absolutely fantastic. I think there's no doubt that everybody around this table knows that our residents are looking for communication and information. Question for you, please. So you showed our Facebook likes, and we have a Twitter, and I think you're working on an Instagram, because somebody has Town of Collingwood on Instagram. But how do we measure up? Is that pretty good for social media?
Like compared to other
Yeah,
municipalities?
please, yeah.
I'm afraid I can't answer.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I think it'd be interesting to know, because my other question is, do other towns engage? So like you said, it is nice, residents might have a discussion on the town's Facebook page about an issue, and they're going back and forth. Do other towns engage and say, oh, dear sir, ma'am, please direct your question via email, or is that typical to just let them talk and we stay out of it?
Through the chair, a lot of municipalities are interacting on social media. In my opinion, it's larger cities that have larger staff, I guess, and quite often they have social media specific positions that
Okay.
can spend hours per day having those conversations on social media.
Right. So what, you might consider that sometime as a benefit, as summer intern?
I think it's a huge benefit, yeah, if there's an opportunity to further the conversation and provide more engagement on social media, that'd be a huge benefit for sure.
Okay, may I have one more?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, because it's been on my mind where we are with the resident responses in terms of the asset sale proceeds, and you said 538 people have responded. Is that to that specific question?
Through the chair, that is that's to engage Collingwood completely over the past month.
Okay.
We've, on the asset sale proceeds survey, we've got about 500 responses so far.
Okay, so compared to other surveys, cannabis in Sunset Park, I think we're coming in a little low so far.
It's
Less
been,
than.
it's been about 4 weeks so far,
Yeah.
that we've had that survey out.
Okay, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Mayor Saunderson.
Just gonna thank Adam and congratulate you on your first quarter, and I would say the takeaway for me is you've been busy and you're gonna get busier. So it's good to see.
Okay, my favorite thing that you said tonight was enhanced customer service and user experience. I think as councillors and in everything, we forget that our residents are, they're guests, so they wanna know the information that's out there. And we need to do that in every particular way that we can, because coming from a background in advertisement, you can, I've heard on many occasions, oh, I wish you guys should have done a better job advertising that. And I thought, well, that's awesome. I think we just spent $20,000 on that campaign. Where were you 4.5 weeks ago? So I think with all these outlets that we are giving people and giving them the opportunity to be one-on-one with our communications officer and or the council at large, I think this is a great way for them to get the right information out there rather than getting into open conversations on social media that sometimes people take that as gospel. So I think it's very important that we offer every opportunity for people to speak with the proper people they need to speak with. And not to belabor the point, but anybody watching at home with any questions, other than a communication officer, our fantastic mayor is a spokesperson for the town, so please reach out to him at mayorsaunderson@collingwood.ca, and he'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, I guess I have to work on my jokes because I give you the benefit of the doubt when you sit up here every second week and crack some really horrible jokes. But you did give me a smile, so I'll appreciate that. Before we go to the next departmental update, I'm always serious.
You're totally serious, and just to say as a bit of a backup, every time I'm seen in public with Councillor McLeod, she says, "Here's the mayor. Any complaints, you know where to go." So you're being very kind to me, and I thank you for that.
All right. You haven't seen the billboard on 26 East or West or our social maybe campaign of askbrian.ca, askbrian.net, briancares.com? No? Okay, wonderful. Okay, 8.2. Again, with the judicial inquiry, I'm trying to add some levity. It's all about smiles and companionship. Terms of reference for a detailed review of the PRC operational budget, Ms. Cupid, Manager Culture and Events.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have a copy of the terms of reference in your agenda package, so I won't go through point by point, but I will just speak briefly about it. These terms of reference have been created in response to the deep dive, quote unquote, that was requested by council into the operational budgets across the organization. And it's the expected outcome of this effort is for council members to have a more explicit understanding of corporate spending at a level that we don't typically get into during budget deliberations. The idea is that over the next few years, we would look at every department at this level. The PRC department will be the first one to present. And to do so, we'll be looking at breaking our operations into program groupings to ensure that the relationship between spending and service impacts on the community are understood by council. The term program is a little bit nebulous at this point, but it's basically staff will define what makes sense as a program. It might not be a standard definition across all the departments, but so PRC staff will be looking at their department what is defined as a program, and you may see things such as grass cutting or marine dockage or the Eddie Bush Memorial Arena. So things that you could package up and really get a fulsome understanding of what happens there and what the associated costs are with it. Each program is linked to a series of general ledger accounts, and it will be giving council the opportunity to ask specific questions on a general ledger account basis. We have 5 divisions within the Parks, Recreation and Culture departments. We expect we'll need an hour for each of those for approximately 5-hour total meeting. The actual date and time have not been determined, but Director Culver will report back on that. And our criteria for success would be that council leaves the meeting feeling satisfied, that they have a deeper level of understanding of the PRC's budget detail and how that results in our operations,
And also that staff feel empowered by council's review to continue seeking higher standards and more efficiencies. Have any questions? Please feel free.
Any questions from the audience about any of this? Any questions from the committee? Mayor Saunders, take a step back in time. That was your seat for 4 years.
Across the chair and you demote me, eh?
Sorry, buddy.
All right. So just through you, Mr. Chair, to Karen and also to Dean and the rest of the department, this is a process that I was very much in favor of, and the upshot is that over the course of 4 years, we hope to essentially, on a department by department basis, rip down our base budget so that we can get a better understanding of where we're starting in any given tax year when we're preparing our budget, so that we are doing a thorough review so that people are understanding they're not just accepting the base budget and starting every annual budgeting process as that being the starting point, that we're getting down into the weeds on a department by department basis to make sure that the initial assumptions are valid and current. So while this is a large undertaking, I want to commend staff in PRC for being the guinea pig this year. I look forward to the review. I think it'll be very instructive for council and staff, but also for the public to understand the scope of services they get, and this will be roughly a 5-hour meeting, so I would encourage people to follow that and to look at the reports that come out from that, because it will be very instructive for them. PRC is one of our larger items, and it is one of our major service providers to the public, so I think it will be of interest to the public.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor McLeod.
I'd like to echo what the mayor has had to say regarding this process, and I look very much forward to it. I am very interested in efficiency, and I think that it is a good idea not just for the councillors to have an understanding, but also for councillors to be able to speak to members of the public regarding decisions and how things are made, and a deeper and more fulsome understanding might also be of benefit to people who work in the department. Why is it that we do things the way that we do them is always a good question to ask, and so I'm looking forward to this process.
See no more. Thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public that would like to come up and speak for a maximum of 5 minutes to do with anything on tonight's agenda? Please introduce yourself for the public and welcome.
My name is Joanne Houghton, and I've been at these committee meetings on a number of occasions, and I must comment that this is the most positive, this most good news committee meeting I have ever been at or watched on my couch from home. So it makes me proud to be a citizen of Collingwood, to see all these good news stories and all the positive things people are bringing into the community. And I came here tonight to support the Centre for Business and Economic Development and Jillian's presentations. And as the chair of the board for the Centre for Business, I want everyone to understand that the entire board unanimously is in full support. But while I was listening to the young man about the bicycles, I have a few comments I'd like to share. I have to admit that I am a WAP. I'm a long-time Collingwood WAP. And some of the things I've observed...
Just for clarification, ride around town.
Ride around town.
If you did miss part of the meeting, she's a lovely lady, and RAT stands for Ride Around Town on Your Bicycle.
Right. So one of the things I'd like to bring to the attention is that the bike racks should be out when the patios go out. And as of the May 24th weekend, the bike racks were still not out. Now, I haven't been down this week, but where are they, and why don't they go out right away? If you're gonna sit on a patio, you need a place to put your bike, and people are putting their bikes against the patios, and they're putting it around the trees and everything else. And it's a pretty easy solution to be on Collingwood Public Works calendar, patio day, bike racks. I also would like to suggest that there be some kind of safety sticker that we put on where you pay for parking that says, especially for tourists, please be aware when you're pulling out of angled parking that there are cyclists. Because if you're new to town or you're just thinking about something else, you don't think about it. And I've seen and been involved in way too many near misses, and I think people just need a gentle reminder to look. Also, another thing that I find when I'm riding around downtown is that the length of vehicles are getting longer and longer and longer, and you have to go out to the lane to get around these big vehicles. Can we not have a length, a little painted length, and a gentle reminder to people that if your car doesn't fit in there, your vehicle doesn't fit in there, then maybe the bylaw officer can have just a little sticker that says, you know, maybe there's a safer place for you to park in the back parking lots, because it really is dangerous to have to go out onto the road. So that covers downtown, and when I'm riding home, I'm up by CCI, and it's probably the most dangerous place to ride your bike. There's slopes, boulevards, and no cycling lanes whatsoever, and it's a cross-section between 2 high schools and 3 elementary schools, and I think that of all places that should be a really safe place. And so if we had some bike lanes, or maybe the sloped boulevards would be changed into something that kids could actually ride their bikes on, then it might be a little bit safer. So, thank you.
Awesome, thank you very much. Anyone else from the public that would like to come up and speak for a maximum of 5 minutes in anything to do with tonight's agenda or this committee? Seeing none, any other business? Councillor Comey.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Chair, will you forgive me, because maybe I should have mentioned it under old business, but it has not been noted in any of the minutes that the anticipated receipt date of the staff report on Fisher Fields is, I believe, at our next meeting, July the 8th. So can we kindly have that noted in these minutes tonight? And then, so I'll start with that.
Yes, yeah, so actually this is the perfect time to do it, because we don't have any old minutes in or business arising, because it just came out so perfect. That's awesome.
Okay, great, thank you. And then can we kindly, I was wondering if we could put in the minutes, if it ties in, we're talking about budget and our next meeting's in July, if Director Culver might be willing to give us just an update presentation or talk to us, the committee, about the Harborview splash pad and the Sunset Park, just an update on where we are with both those projects, since we're rolling into summer and a lot of residents are looking at playgrounds and thinking about water features.
So as much as I love that idea, whatever camera's on me, of course I do. I don't know if procedurally we can do that at a committee level, so I'm going to look to the deputy clerk. I don't know if that direction has to come from council as a whole to kind of get like a staff report.
No, not a staff report. Whoop, no, definitely not that. Just an update.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Colby, if you're just looking for an update, I can't confirm if Dean would be prepared to give an update at the next meeting, but I can definitely put it in the minutes and see.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Councillor McLeod.
And on that same thread, to echo some of the comments made by Councillor Comey, I wonder if we might also ask for an update on when we might see the cycling plan, because I'm pretty sure that it was brought up to me during the election campaign in October and September, and that it was coming soon. And I think it's a bit late to be soon, but I'd like to know where we are on that.
We're good? Ms. Cuba, can you comment on that, please, and thank you?
Through you, I cannot give you any information about the cycling plan, but I've made a note that it has been requested of Director Culver.
Excellent, thank you very much. Any other business? Yes, Leonard.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to mention to all of the members here and the viewers that the draft development charges background study was placed on the website today, and developers are free to download their copies and make any comments to us that they wish.
Peruse our fantastic new website. Anything else?
Sorry.
This is awesome. Again, this is a positive meeting. We're all smiles here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of reminders of upcoming events at the Collingwood Museum. Wednesday, June 5th at 7 p.m. The museum is hosting its 3rd Collectors Night. This month's featured collector is Manfred Leingart, and his unique collection of Bell Canada memorabilia will be on display at the museum until July 6th. On the June 5th night, community members are also invited to bring their own collections for a community show and tell. And then on Saturday, June 22nd at 7 p.m., the Collingwood Museum is hosting Lend Me Your Ears, Podcasting as the New Public History, a talk by Sebastian Major. Sebastian is the creator and host of Our Fake History, a podcast that explores historical myths and misconceptions, and his podcast was recognized as the best educational podcast at the 2018 Podcast Awards. A limited number of tickets are available through Eventbrite, and admission is by requested donation of $5 per person.
Excellent. Okay, I have a comment. We've seen a lot of slides tonight about the positive impact of festivals in downtown Collingwood through Rick and Uncle Alexis Creative Space. And I asked the BIA a couple questions, but I want to ask the chief because now that festival season is upon us, and I've been involved with the downtown for many years, I have a really question about the tents. So, is there anything that we can learn moving forward now that the outdoor festival season is upon us? Do you have anything that you can add to the public that can let them know the direction that they should be going to show up to events? The reason I ask this question is there's the Ontario Fire Code, which people forget about, and sometimes when we have these great events and they have these tents and people are cooking under them, it really it adds a level of anxiety to this councillor of something bad happening. So the chief is going to speak with a good news and a big smile. Thanks, Chief.
Through you, Chair, thank you. It is a big concern to us, the public safety at any of our town events. I'm part of the event approval process with Karen's department and proud to be part of it because of what we promote. The tent has always been a pet peeve of mine. We offer, it's a commercial setting with commercial application and the code specifically says they should be fire rated. So we've been pretty understanding for a while, so I actually had this talk with COM and feel we'll do some kind of a media blast on this so people understand that when they do come to Collingwood that we do ask them to have fire rated tents. We worked with the chamber this year and was very successful at their event. Any tents in the the arena were fire rated and no pushback. When Wakestock was in town, we had 100% compliance with that group. So the BIA has bought tents for the farmers market, which are available, but there is the odd one still coming, and that is the concern, as you said, with cooking or activities that are happening that could jeopardize the event. I think the big talk was last year when you looked at the down Niagara on Lakes with the event when they lost 30-some vehicles by parking out in a parking lot. Nobody thought about that or consulted fire service or anybody the dangers of that. So it's the same here with the tents. So I think that probably I'll create a policy and put it in place. It's not more of an enforcement tool. It's a education tool that we won't allow tents in any town events after this year. So, and it's a safety factor. We want everybody to come visit and enjoy, and we don't need that one-off incident happening.
Yeah, whether they're cooking or not.
Yes, hopefully that answers your question. There was one other little update too that the other thing with events I get a little worried about is weather, and we see in the around the world all the changes of weather and stuff happening. But after last Friday with our emergency management training, I think we have that covered off well. And I had said to Karen and Dean that their staff are already doing pre-planning for this that they didn't realize and using a system that's accepted. So it was very positive and a good outcome for that looks after our residents and visitors when they do come to our town. So
excellent. Ms. Adolph.
Yes.
You mentioned the positive meeting. I have another thing I'd like to share with you. I think it should not go by. We had a meeting with Wendy Martin, and she's the manager of parks, and they proposed the park and recreational capital projects for this year. And the one, there's three of them. Sunset Point Park will be redeveloped to be inclusive and accessible. And they hope that this project will start at this fall or in 2020. Accessible kayak launch, we received some provincial funding and for this project, and anticipation installation is midsummer. And then the river trail widening, width of the trail will be expanded and the railings will be installed. More positive. Thank you.
Thanks for leaving us on that. I don't mind taking a step back when it's all positivity. I'm looking for a mover for the adjournment. Moved by Councilor McLeod. All those in favor? Thank you very much for the people that came out tonight, the people watching at home. Go enjoy yourself. We'll see you at the farmer's market.